What else we got here? Text.
And we are live. Yay. Cool. All right. I get to host this one. Yay. You know what? We got to wait a few seconds because I think it needs to catch up first before I start. All right. Welcome to Red Man Group. What are we? Number 36 now, I think, or 37? 37. Yeah, because we did 3 advanced episodes at the 21 convention, which was a lot of fun. I am your host, Rollo Tomasi, today. I have with me, I got Donovan Sharp, I got Pat Campbell, I got Ryan Stone, I got Tex, whose last name I don't know, and I've got Anthony the Dream Johnson on here. So what we're going to do, I'm sure we're all just basically wiped out and we're hamburger after this event. So what I wanted to do today is kind of do a sort of a post-action report here on what our impressions were of the convention. But like we usually do, I think we'll probably just go do a little roundtable here, and we'll just talk about what we've been doing or what we have plans for in the coming week. And I guess we can start with Donovan because Donovan is in Reno right now. So
yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you're a little low, but let's just go with it.
All right. Yeah, I got my Bluetooth headset on now. Hopefully you guys can hear me a little bit better. But yeah, I'm in Reno, taking care of some business. So I'm on West Coast time out here. But just been putting stuff on my Patreon page, patreon.com/Donovan Sharp. Again, just like you said, man, I'm completely wiped out from the 21 convention. I was down there with you guys in Orlando. Went back to Philly for 2.5 days, and now I'm out here on the West Coast. I go back on Tuesday, and I'm not going to get on a plane for another year.
All right, we took Donovan. Man down.
We wiped everybody out. All right, well, Pat, how are you doing?
Tremendous. Big week here in Tulsa for us. We had Mike Pence, the vice president, coming to town to endorse gubernatorial candidate Kevin Stitt. And we had about 4,000, maybe 5,000 people show up. I'm getting some criticism this morning because I didn't wear suit and tie to the event, and that was seen as disrespectful. And I am so over that. You know, I went to an all-male preparatory high school, so I wore dress slacks, dress shirt, tie, blazer for 4 years. When I taught school for 6 years, it's when teachers still dressed professionally, wore the same thing. First 10 years of talk radio, I dressed like that. All I've got to show for it is a really big dry cleaning bill. I am so over that. I'm not there to impress people with the way I'm dressed. And it's weird. They pick apart what you're wearing. I mean, even down to the shoes. Somebody noted on Twitter that I was wearing, Hanover shoes, you know, the Oxfords. It's like, who cares what I've got on? It's like they're down to everything except the underwear. Was he wearing briefs, boxers, or was he going commando? It's like they get bent out of shape over the clothing I wear. It's the vice president. It's not like Donald Trump showed up. I get dressed up for church. I get dressed up for weddings. I get dressed up for funerals. I did get dressed up for Ted Cruz, so maybe that's why they're mad, because I didn't dress up for Mike Pence when he was here.
Oh wow.
Where's Tanner when you need him?
Yeah, exactly.
I know. He's gonna help me out.
Yeah, Ryan, what do you got going this week?
Well, my God, it's been busy. Starting some new things on my end. I'm following the New Year's resolution thing here, where if you mention it, you end up getting the endorphin rush and don't do it. So I'll keep it under the hat until I put it out.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, I'm going to put some work on the Red Man Group subreddit so we can have places other than the YouTube chat for the leadership to actually listen to and talk about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because these chats, they're gone once we're done. So it'd be kind of nice to have some people's stuff a little permanent in there.
Oh yeah, that'd be good. That'd be really
then
good.
Doing some things with Carl. We'll bring that up if and when it's done here. You guys will like it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It'll probably ruffle some feathers, but stay tuned.
That's cool. Cool. Tex, what's up with you?
I'll tell you what, I came out of 21 pretty fired up, exhausted as hell. I don't know what the hell Donovan's doing there. Came up fired up, man. And I've resolved myself to start blogging a little bit more. I had let my blogging go a little bit over the last month or two, kind of preparing for 21 and getting ready and getting my head straight and doing a million other things. But that's kind of the direction I want to go. Work's cranking up again for the rest of the year. Life is good. My girl and I've had a lot of discussions. We've actually talked about we are going to get on together and do some sort of a YouTube video on our thing and actually do it together, which hopefully won't be a dumpster fire, but we'll see. If it never makes it to the light of day, you'll know it didn't work. That's about
Anthony, are you recovered yet?
Moving, getting there. Making women great again here in Orlando, of course. So no, I'm still recovering, but I'm doing a lot better than last year. 2017 was an absolute meteor hitting me in the face. It was awesome, but it was super intense. This year was even bigger and better, of course, at the event, but I came out of it feeling a lot better physically and mentally. Exhausted, but not to the point of absurdity. Similar to what you guys are at. You went through a hell of a lot being at the event, talking to hundreds of men for a couple of days, and putting everything out there you got. So I'm feeling pretty good, and there's so much going on too behind the scenes. It's wild. I just wrapped up putting getting gear kind of organized for the event, or putting them back in place. My inboxes from Twitter, email, and shit are just totally overpacked right now. And next year's looking insane. And next year, I think we're going to have over 300 people, 300 men per event.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
We'll see, but that's what it's looking like, if not a lot more. I think Orlando could have north of 500 at this point.
When do you start planning for the next year's event? Do you take 3 weeks or 3 months off or something like that, or do you just jump right back into it?
We started planning before the 2018 event even started.
Oh wow.
The physical event started. I'm gonna actually be touring venues probably in 2 weeks in Orlando for that one. So I'll get that. I'll probably have the Orlando one booked, which will happen in November 2019. That'll be booked probably before the Poland event will be booked. All right. And I'm gonna probably have to go to Poland in the winter, like December or January. Wow. Check out those venues, tour that whole place, and then go back there, of course, for the event. It'll be in July. Our first European event since 2012. We had 3 previously in Sweden and 2 in London. So we're already in motion, man. Hit the ground running, basically.
That's great. Well, okay. I just will tell you what I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to settle back into some kind of normalcy here. I've been kind of, as soon as we were done at the with Monday's shows, basically I was trying to get some things set up in Florida for my my other house that I own in down in Kissimmee area. And so I had 1 day to, go buy a new used truck, I should say, and just sort of get myself set up, because I had all of 1 day, 2 days to actually do something, on my own while we were out there. And so I go from being beat up on, from the convention all the way to just having to just hit the ground running again. Well, I was after that. Then, Donovan, mute your mic, man.
Yeah, I laughed. You had us all, hey, help me buy a truck and move, guys.
I know.
Are we speakers or hard labor?
I know. And so I got, it's funny, as I was there and it was 93 degrees when we were in Florida, and then I get to Reno and I fly in, and then at night it's 37 degrees here. So I'm freezing my ass off.
All right, how's that sound? Is that better?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
who knew that? Texas I don't know what the hell Donovan's doing, man. I'm in here fighting internet connections and whatnot, but I got the earbuds in, so
I don't want to sell you out, but yeah, I and Donovan again is in Reno, so that's another thing I want to be doing pretty soon here is hook up with him, and maybe we'll go do a Periscope or something from downtown. I think that might.
That'd be solid, man.
But I am back 100% full on in book 4 right now. One thing, and I was going to just maybe this week and just jump off about our impressions of the 21 convention. But one thing that I wanted to say is that while I was there, one of the best advantages I think that the 21 convention has for me anyways is it gives me new material. It makes me think about questions that I haven't really thought of before, because people will come up and hit me up, and you guys see I can't walk across the lobby without having guys just drag me every way to talk to me or ask me questions and personal stuff. But it really, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but I have probably I think I probably got a good 7 or 8 new posts for the Rational Male that I want to get into, and I'm constantly taking notes. Anybody who saw me at the convention, that I'm working. The best time for me to work is in the mornings for some reason. I'm a morning person when it comes to that, and so I tend to do my writing and my best, work, I guess, in the morning. So then I'm down there doing that, and then I'm getting input from other guys, and I think I think I'm going to have probably at least the next couple of months will probably be posts that were based on questions or interactions that I had at the 21 convention. So that's got me going right now. Just a quick announcement. Let's see. I don't know which one I should do first. My book, as far as the third book, Audio, we finally, Sam and I finally got it back. Anybody who knows Sam Bada, he was also at the convention. But he did the audio for it again, and we did the post-production for it. We sent it off to Audible, and Audible sent it back to us after about 13 or 14 days because it's a longer book, and we have a few edits, and we have some sound quality issues that we need to address. But nothing's super major. So it's back with us right now, and we're going to be, just cleaning it up, I guess, and then we'll send it back to them. So I would say probably within the next couple of weeks, it'll be available with all things considered. And then what was the other thing that Rich wanted us to mention, Anthony?
Cooper?
Rich Cooper wanted us to mention.
Patreon.
Yes.
Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon. We now have a Patreon for the Red Man Group proper. And let's see. Red Man Group broadcasts take time and resources to create. If you enjoy what we're putting out, consider a $5 a month pledge to say thank you. We'll also provide opportunities to make topic suggestions for future broadcasts for our patronage. And then for a $10 subscription, we got monthly live Q&A sessions coming up. You can join in an online private Q&A session for Patreons only with at least 2 of the RMG panelists, Rollo, Rich, Anthony, Carl, Donovan, or Rian. Ask any question or any red pill topic, and we'll get a direct, honest feedback from us in real time. So I wanted to make sure that I read this. Recording will be made available to the public on Red Man Group channel later. So that's what we have going on with the Patreon channel.
Quick addition to that, Rollo. I got the link in the chat for Red Man Group Patreon, and I will put it also in the video once we're done. Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, let's do our after action report here. What I wanted to do is just sort of go around the panel here, and I'm sure we're going to have some people kind of chime in because I went and gave the Hangout link to everybody who was on our speaker list. So maybe people will chime in and some will not. The first one I want to talk to is Pat, because Pat, this is your first time even really kind of getting your feet wet and all this. So I just wanted to get an idea of what your thoughts were. What kind of jumped out at you, and like what you thought was the best parts, and what you thought that maybe we could just some opportunities or ideas that we could have for the future.
Well, first of all, I've participated in a lot of events over the years, and I got to tell you, and I told Anthony off air, just blown away by the caliber. I mean, I've never seen anything so professionally, tightly run, from security and just keeping the identity of the attendees, confidential, that kind of stuff. It was just top notch from start to finish. Blown away with the caliber of the speakers, the various speakers there. I was actually surprised by the diversity of those in attendance. I was expecting, for the most part, guys in their 20s and 30s, but there's a lot more than that. I think we had 1 or 2 attendees that were up in the upper 60s or maybe even 70.
Yep.
But I started thinking about myself when I was in my 20s. Would I have made that kind of investment? Would I've thrown down $2,000 to improve myself? And I don't think I would have at the time. So I'm blown away by the individuals that did this. And I got to tell you, it was Friday night. I'm at the restaurant. Forget the name of the place where we were, but up on the second floor. And I was talking to one of the attendees, young guy, sharp guy, he's about 31 years old, from Singapore. I think he said he was an engineer. He's asking me for dating advice with this girl. And I'm there like, wait, how did this happen? How did I get here? But he wanted my opinion, and I gave him my opinion, and he was thankful for that. But the individuals that came were just a very diverse, remarkable group. We had a lot of Asian people in attendance, a lot of African American people in attendance. I can't remember the name of the guy that spoke on Saturday. He was the second to last speaker. Alan, what's his name?
Oh,
Alan Roger Curry.
Roger Curry.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting by Donovan and Ed Lattimore when he's up there. This guy just had me crying. I was howling. He's hilarious. He's got some great material. And when he did the puppy dog thing, that made me cry. I was laughing so hard I was crying. But the caliber of the speakers and the information that was being given out was all top notch. And you're not going to get that anywhere else. I mean, that combination in that location, in a couple of days, it was intense. And I got to meet a lot of people that I could network with. And as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, well, how do I fit in? How do I grow my brand? And that's really what I was trying to do when I was there, and really enjoyed listening to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Donovan, what'd you think? This is your first time here too.
Yeah, listen, I totally agree with Pat in terms of, the level of professionalism, the caliber, the caliber of all the speakers. I mean, the accommodations, the security, everything there was so tightly run. It was really a sight to behold when you get there, because it's one of those deals where you don't really know what to expect when you get there. And just like Pat said, I think the attendees were really the star of the show, and it was pretty cool, to kind of get pulled aside. You hold court with a few guys, et cetera, et cetera. But listen, the attendees definitely made it worth it. But to be able to meet you guys in person and then sit down and do the Red Man Group live, that to me, that was the highlight of that was definitely the highlight of my experience there, to be able to see and meet you guys in person and in the flesh. So it was cool to see, to have your fans there, and then to transition from, one of the Red Pill guys to sort of a fanboy, all within, just a few seconds of each other, was really, really cool. The Heroes Dinner was awesome. I think that the Heroes Dinner, that's honestly, that's probably the most fun I've had in quite some time. Again, I got to see and talk to a lot of the guys, had a few drinks. So yeah, all in all, the 21 convention was a top class, world class event. And anyone who's looking to sort of maybe mimic or, maybe somehow duplicate this, it's going to be tough, man, because Anthony really, really set the bar, and it's going to be hard to top this, especially considering the parades and the events that were happening on the outside, right? So that was an experience to be sure. But yeah, I had a great time there. I look forward to being back next year, of course, provided Anthony has me back again. And it was great. It was a great time. Honestly, man, it's one of the best weekends I've had in quite some time.
We just got a $10 super chat here from Mattia Vuk. I can't remember. It sounds like he's from Belgium or something like that. Anyways, I should say a €10 super chat. So that probably means he's over in Europe, right? He said, I just wanted to say thanks to Rollo. Last year, I was suicidal and decided to take the red pill, and I'm getting better. Next month, I'll be moving to London. Your book saved me. I'll be forever grateful. Wow. Thank you very much. I'm glad you benefited from that. Also, we should probably also announce that we will be in Poland and for the European version of the Red Man Group, or the 21 convention, probably the Red Man Group too.
Oh, hell yeah.
And Poland, you said, is going to be what, right? In the early July or something? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Anthony?
July. Yep.
So in July. So Mattia, just hang on. We're coming to Europe. We're coming to save Europe.
The Americans and Canadians are coming. Europe's been overrun with feminazis.
Help you. Ryan, what'd you think this year, man? This is your second time. How did it compare to 2017?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I'm with Donovan. The first time you come there, I think you were in real life, like your first appearance was there. So I remember the first thing I said is, if Rollo turns out to be a fat fuck, I'm just gonna.
No, I'm the opposite, man. I'm a hard gainer.
Yeah. But I know it's funny because when you get down there, and I've known a lot of these guys from last year, it reminds me a lot of when I was in the Navy. And it's this weird thing. And anybody who's done any military time will agree with this. It's let's say you don't see a guy for a year. You deploy, he deploys, you got different schedules. As soon as you get back together, it's like you pick up the conversation where it left off about a year ago. And it was the same way. Like I'm sitting there just chilling with Tanner.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally just like we left off. I noticed, oh, you've gained some weight, put on some muscle, your voice sounds deeper. He goes, yeah, and I like like just the general banter, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was hoping, it turns out there was enough people there that we didn't need any filler questions for the Red Man Group episodes.
Oh, no, we did not.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a good thing. But the question I was going to ask was, I mean, if you look at all the people, you got Tanner, you got the two Jacks, you got yourself, Hunter, myself, Tex, everybody. It's about as varied a set of moral frameworks. Like, you can't put Caleb and Tanner together and consider them any kind of overlap with their moral compass. But at the same time, I mean, we're all hanging out. It's not like a conference where you do your speech and then you go back to your rooms and ignore each other. Like, we're generally enjoying each other's company like friends.
Yeah.
Reason I mention this is because it underlies there's something more foundational here. Just guys having that same mission, just wanting to be the best kind of guy, the most successful guy you can. And that kind of transcends all this other little crap.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, a lot of people thought we were going to be like The View and start, nagging at each other like Whoopi and Rosie O'Donnell, but it's not like that at all.
Yeah, what's funny is like when we did the 3 Red Man Group shows on that final Monday there, I was worried that was going to be the comparison that was going to be made. Like, oh, you guys are just trying to be The View for men or something like that. And you know what? It did not come off as that. You know what? It came off more to me was like ESPN. Like guys sitting around, like the halftime
Sunday NFL countdown
show. Yeah, I was like, this is cool. This is really cool.
Yeah. Actually, I was gonna say it was like a '90s band's press conference. Everybody with their sunglasses all hung over.
Damn lights, man! It was setting me up. God forbid
they were brutal.
I know. Well, it's like if I have too little sleep and I have too much coffee and I see bright lights, it ends up setting off my my migraines. Like I'll get migraines for
really?
That kind of stuff. And so here I am, like kind of, this kind of, I'm trying to keep my glasses off because I don't want to like, put the glare back at the camera or anything like that. But
no, I wanted to, I just couldn't do it. I looked and I saw myself on the video screen and I'm like, even I want to punch me. I'll just squint.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say is that, like I said, I was kind of worried it was going to come off as The View for men, but it actually was more like, guys hanging out. But I think we should probably sort of fess up here and say that, this is sort of something that I have had in mind for a while. I have wanted to do a more kind of well-produced show for the Red Man Group. And, it's going to be in the future. It's kind of hard to get all of us together, like in the same, area. Yeah. And so when everybody's in town and we get together, like for instance, like if I was going to go out to like say Tulsa, Oklahoma and do an in-studio thing with Pat, that'd be great. But I would still want to do kind of like a Red Man Group with him, like there somewhere, and sort of do some sort of production type thing. That's what I kind of want to do with Donovan this weekend too. So we can like sort of get together and do like a Periscope or something on his show. But I think that if we could come up with a really well-produced show, kind of like Dave Rubin or Joe Rogan or Louder with Crowder, how they have like they have that sound studio kind of thing for them.
Yes.
That's kind of what I'm aiming for. But again, it's kind of hard for us to do because there's a lot of us, and we all have lives, and we all have varied perspectives when it comes to red pill awareness. But I think that if we can in some way have a dedicated place for when we can get together or when we can get like 2 or 3 of us together, I think that would be really something to aim for. And this was this was a dry run. This was like a really kind of a test for that. And
that's the beauty of it. As long as there's enough of an audience, like we can make it happen. So it's really, I hate to put it on the audience, but it's all on you guys really.
Yeah.
And I'll end on this though. The one thing I would say about the convention, and I might, if I come back for the 3rd year, I'll probably do this as my talk. A lot of guys were there worried about their HR departments and the negative press that the red pill gets. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they're checking into their hotel on their Facebook pages and that. So it's like general OPSEC. I probably might have a speech on that for guys that are worried about this secret underground hangout of whatever we are.
Right.
Man, we gotta be careful about that, dude.
Yeah, very
we gotta be so careful because again, we were almost infiltrated by a member of the media, And luckily, luckily for us, one of our guys was quick on his feet and, recognized the threat and eliminated it. But yeah, I mean, listen, the attendees were great, but I think we need to make it clear that let's not be as messy. Let's tighten it up a little
That's
bit.
hard to do with 300 guys being there.
God,
I got a funny story
dude.
on this one. I'll be quick on this one. Ed and I were sitting in the cigar lounge doing our thing. I'm showing him photos of my mom getting married in a daishiki. He's like, "Oh, so you're black too?" I'm like, "Well, sorta. It's a long story." As soon as we heard the name of the reporter, it's just like in the horror movie where you don't want to be that first guy dead. So Ed and I were like, "All right, back home."
Get out. Yeah, get
before,
out.
Yeah, before her second syllable of her name was gone, we're already at the hotel again. Like, nope.
So you guys talking about the audience here at the Redman Group. I had no idea what the reach of this thing was. I mean, I've only been on 4 or 5 times, right? And I walk into the lobby of the hotel the first night, and fucking everybody knew who I was. And I'm like, it was the most surreal thing that I'd ever been through in my life. I mean, I've been to a lot of conferences. I've never been in a place where people walking up to me and start talking to me immediately. That was humbling. I mean, that was something else. The conversations in the hallways, conversations at breakfast, the conversations at dinner, smoking cigars out on the patio with everybody. I mean, that's where a lot of the fun was for me. And it was nonstop conversations. Rollo, you talk about the lights and the migraines. The lights blew me away. I wasn't really ready for that. I do a lot of speaking at work, and it's usually the same thing all the time, but never with 6 bright floodlights shining in my face. And that was a little disconcerting, but it was an experience that I am grateful to have been a part of, and I'll be back every year that I possibly can make it from here on out. Because I mean, it was there's guys' lives being changed in there, and these guys were walking up to me and asking me questions, but more importantly, telling me their stories. Ryan, Batman origin stories, but a lot of it, but it was a lot of it was really good stuff. And hell, all of it was good stuff. I didn't have one bad conversation the entire week. And then being able to share that with my son there the whole time as well. It was solid. Now the 2 or 3 guys that screwed up the operational security, that was such a limited thing from what I could tell, right? It was only 3 or 4 guys that checked in and that I think that did that kind of thing. But we'll tighten it down next year and kick a few people in the ass and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. I see Drew Bay in the chat here. He says, this is why people who can work for themselves ought to aspire to it. When you're your own boss, you don't have to worry about being fired for speaking your mind. Yeah, but let me tell you something, man. There's ways to be deplatformed, and you have to. Nobody's completely anti-fragile. I'll tell you that right now. Sorry, go ahead, Anthony. What did you think about this as compared to 2017? Because this is kind of like the second run for really the Red Pill Summit, version of the convention.
Sure. Yeah, so this is the 15th time we hosted the convention, and the second time that we had a major Red Pill infusion, not counting the 2016 events where we had Tanner and Andrew the Private Man show up, so that kind of the beginning of it. I have a few comments that are pretty major, even though I'm still processing with you guys everything that happened. The first one, in general, for the convention, out of all 15, and including the 2017 to 2018 comparison, the teamwork I saw among the speakers was like a new level. I've never seen you guys get along that well. Like, the speakers always get along pretty well. They click, they form social groups, they network, they build each other's businesses up, they do different, they make projects and stuff. But the way you guys were interacting and the teamwork I saw at the dinners, at the private dinners, the heroes dinner, the parties, throughout the event, the Q&A panel, the Redman group shows on Monday, like, all of it was fucking totally on fire. And that, I thought, built the speeches up, and the quality of the experience and the quality of the event, the quality of the content, like, above and beyond. Like, Rollo, you were on fire.
Yeah,
I remember walking
thought it
around
was a pretty good one.
Oh, hell yeah. And I was like, man, not only did this guy increase his skill for speaking and his talent for it, from year to year, this is one example out of all the speakers, but there was like a passion in you, man, that I hadn't seen before. At least not expressed openly in public like that on stage. And I was like, holy shit, this guy is like lighting the roof on fire. These guys are going to be fucking amped. So stuff like that, the teamwork I saw was really badass. My second major comment is that I always describe the event as like the world's ultimate event for men, because it is. And I describe it as like epic and legendary. And that's about 75% serious, 25% is kind of triggering people. But this event was not just epic and legendary, it was fucking historic. Like, I had never, this was above and beyond my own expectations, which I set really, really, really high, like absurdly high. And it surpassed even that. And I think that's in large part, not only to my own hard work, but you guys as well. all of you guys were amped and working together, and then the attendees too, and the staff and the volunteers and everybody. So between the teamwork and the historic nature of it, I mean, this was a major event for the Manosphere, not just the Red Pill, but the entire Manosphere, to the extent everybody else was involved.
If I could chime in real quick on Anthony's style. Usually when somebody's running an event like this, whoever's in charge is running around like a chicken with his head cut off. You on the other hand were so cool, so laid back, like stoic.
Yes.
Oh, you should have seen him last year.
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm watching the guy move, and it's like, wow, this is so cool.
We got a $5 super chat here. So Anthony, thanks for giving some of us the chance to volunteer. Funny how smooth things run when no women are working on an event like this. Yeah.
We just got another one.
Andres.
Yeah, and speaking of the staff kicked ass, man. I've been to a lot of these kind of events where, not specifically Manosphere, but a lot of conventions and symposiums and things. These guys were kicking ass, man. And I know they're all most of them are volunteers, and I mean they were on it. It was legendary.
About 50. The split was about 50-50 volunteer staff. The AV team though is always full paid. Those guys are true professionals.
$2 super chat. This convention felt like Philadelphia circa 1776.
Hell yeah, dude.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, the Canadian in me, it's not really a good thing.
Listen, I endorse a 21 convention in Philly. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. I have one more major comment though, or two of them.
Sure.
So one of them is that this convention is definitely a Red Pill Summit at this point, and
Yes.
Rollo, that's primarily thanks to you and the guy who introduced me to you. And that is fucking awesome. And I'm definitively in that camp. That's my favorite part of the Manosphere by far. But I also view this convention historically and including now as bigger than even the Red Pill. It's like a Manosphere event. And I think that's very powerful for us because it enables us to get speakers like FBI agent Joe Navarro and speakers like Dr. Robert Glover, who are not like officially part of the Red Pill, but they're close enough to it that we can talk to them and bring them into the event. And it amps up the quality of the event and the content and the experience. So it is definitely and primarily a Red Pill event, but it's also a Manosphere event. And it's about men improving their lives. Yeah, Glover was fucking badass.
I laugh. He had no idea he's like one of the central guys in here. He's like, I'm doing what now?
Oh, yeah. And that's why I love, we bring in speakers. We bring in medical doctors, FBI agents, or, people like men like Joe Navarro, or not, Joe Navarro, but Robert Glover. And next year we'll get even, more beyond that. So I love that we can bring in, a primary, like 60, 70% Red Pill base, and then build on top of that with auxiliary speakers that don't even know what the Red Pill is half the time, or they only kind of lightly are aware of it.
Yeah,
They quickly find out.
Yeah, Joe Navarro.
They do.
Joe Navarro is a good example of that. I don't necessarily think he would consider himself as being like in the Manosphere or whatever, but like you take his information and you can use it to your advantage. So
exactly,
that's really good. And then I think what was it last year? You had a guy who was talking about cryptocurrency or something like that.
Yeah, Richard Nicolai. Yeah, exactly. We experiment. We bring in new speakers who are friendly with the Manosphere. They support men improving their lives, but they don't know what the Red Pill is. They don't have a TRP account, and they don't need to because we need their content and their ideas. So my focus is always the ideas and the speakers and the best experience and the best quality ideas we can find. That's why I love your work, Rollo. People blamed my red pilling on Medusa, but I blame it primarily. That was influential, like a setup, but I blame it always on you. Your work was fantastic. I love the way you write and the precision of it and the detail. That is what convinced me to dig deep into it, and not just it was some cool thing. I was like, this is fucking awesome. This is a tribe and a concept that I believe in.
That's a good segue into the next question that I wanted to get into here, and we'll just kind of run through the panel. It looks like we lost Donovan, but he'll probably come back again.
One more thing. This is the last time, given that we the media almost tried to ambush us that Sunday night when the event was done at a private social gathering we had off-site. That's the last time we will have private events at the convention where we don't have a full security detail. Going forward, we'll have 4 to 6 security guards with us at all times. The dinners or the parties and all that stuff. And that's probably overkill. But in the event that anyone tries to get near us or harass us, like a media reporter or some shit, that's that possibility is off the table going forward.
Yeah, I'm thinking
ramping that shit way up.
Oh, that's good. And the other thing is that as this kind of gets bigger, I think you were talking about having like some handlers or something for like.
Oh yeah, we'll have a media handler like Jack Murphy. So Jack Murphy right now is our media point of contact officially for the time being. We'll discuss how that goes. Yeah. But yes, full security detail, a lot more guys, half a dozen at a time at the event and at night offsite. And then we'll figure out a lot more too with staff and handling the media and stuff.
Cool.
We definitely protect the privacy and security of attendees, and that's super important to me.
Yeah, that's
especially
all.
in this,
That's
you know,
always our
culture.
top. That's always the top concern.
Yep.
So I wanted to go around really quick because, like, when you do an event like this, when you organize like this, and there's a lot of money going around. You know, it costs some money to go to this thing. I'm not saying it's, you know, you're going to be, you know, giving up some of your time, you know, for most of these guys are going to like be dedicating some of their, you know, their paid time off, their PTO from their work and everything else. And then, you know, some guys are a little concerned about their anonymity at this kind of thing. But what I wanted to do is like, I kind of wanted to go around and sort of get from each one of you, just for the people who weren't there, to like let us know what the topic of your speech was, the topic of your talk, and what do you say to guys who are saying that you guys are like selling out, like you guys are like, well, if you're going to go to the 21 convention, then it's all about you trying to turn a buck. Oh, cool. And we got Bruno there too.
Here. Yeah.
There he is.
Oh, Bruno's great. Hey, George, let's just really quick, what was your impressions?
Being that I had talked to all the speakers all along, and of course mixed off hours, everyone said it was just another level up, just the entire time. Production value, the caliber of speakers, even people. I heard some people say that attendees even dressed better, like they stepped up their game. And I've been saying this forever, that game and becoming the best version of yourself is to make yourself a better person, not just to get chicks, but just make yourself get people, be attractive to people. And I think guys are starting to take that more seriously. And I feel that the person with the most game is the person that is attractive. And we're not even talking sexually attractive to men and women. Be the kind of man that people like. And when that happens, yeah, exactly. Versus nice guy. You know, I'm not saying be a nice guy. I'm saying be the kind of person that people like. And I think it works out. I mean, assholes stand out. They make themselves very clear. It's like they have a sign around their neck. I'm an asshole. But I found there to be.
I got it covered. Don't worry.
I think overall impression. I think even attendees stepped up their game. Speakers were on point. It was good.
Cool. Can I weigh in on George? Because I watched George. George has got some serious game, man. I watched him working the floor and even in the elevator. Everybody he talked to, he found something nice to say about them or bring out. And that's just a class act all the way around.
Yeah, that's great. I wanted to go through the speakers and just let us know, like let the audience here know what it was you were talking about. What was this topic or the subject of your speech? Donovan, why don't you hit that?
Yeah, and hopefully you guys can hear me okay now, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I talked about the residual costs of living the red pill life. And I think it was important to living the red pill life. It's not all peaches and cream. I mean, the rewards are there. There's no doubt about it. Just like George just said, you know, you become more attractive, not to just women, but you're more attractive to people. People want to be around you. People want to know what you have. But by the same token, anything worth having, if any transformation is going to come with it's going to come with a cost, and it's going to come with a residual cost. And without giving away, any parts of my speech, I likened it to the Colin Kaepernick situation as well as the Nick Denton situation. I talked about the fact in the beginning that even though we enjoy freedoms as Americans, the people who fought and died to give us those particular freedoms, that was just the down payment. Yeah, free speech is it's something that all Americans enjoy, but by the same token, there's still a residual cost. It's just like red pill awareness. You can't just make your down payment, go through a bunch of heartbreak, pay $2,000 to go to the 21 convention, and you have paid your red pill dues. No, it doesn't work that way. There's always more. There's always more to be paid. There's always more to learn. So I wanted to let guys know, hey, living the red pill life is great, but you have to understand that it's something that you have to maintain. Just like Rollo says, the red pill is a praxology. And, praxology is something that it's continued. It does not end. It's a constant learning experience. Right. So a lot of guys have to understand that, hey, the cost of living the rewards of living a good life are definitely there. But by the same token, you have to understand there is an ugly underbelly to this stuff.
Now, I wanted to say this right here is the man I think I learned the most when it comes to public speaking was Pat. Pat does this for a living, and I'm on his show on Fridays anyway. So I kind of like pick up on, sort of the ebb and flow of a conversation now. So if I stepped up my game as a speaker, I think I'm going to blame that, or I'm going to attribute that to Pat. So Pat, what was the topic of your talk?
Well, my topic was fluid, and it sort of changed before I actually got up there to speak. You're talking about my style. It's the power of the story. For years, I didn't understand how powerful a story was. But if you are a good storyteller, and especially if you can make an emotional connection with your audience, I can't even begin to put a dollar figure on it. You're going to own them for life, and that applies to males or females. Jack Murphy had listened to a program I did earlier in the week where we were talking about my daughter's dress for homecoming. He said, man, because he's got a daughter that age and he's going through that too. And that really struck a chord with him. So I brought that up. But what I spent a lot of time on, and I had not initially intended to, was hormone replacement therapy, testosterone. And the reason is having conversations with various guys there, especially with guys that were sort of around the 40-ish age. A lot of them were talking about depression, symptoms of depression. And I kept asking them, I said, you know what your testosterone levels are? They had no idea. But the problem is that a lot of times the symptoms that are associated with depression are also the symptoms that are associated with low T. And the only way you're going to know is by getting a blood test. And you need to get the total testosterone plus your free testosterone is so important because that's what your body actually utilizes. And also your estradiol, your estrogen levels, which can turn you into a whiny little bitch if they're too high, quite frankly. And people kept asking me about that. So I really got into that conversation quite a bit when I was up there at the in front of the crowd. The one thing I left out is because short of a blood test, and I wanted to say this too, one of the things, how do I know if I got low T? Well, here's the first warning sign. If you're not getting morning wood on a regular basis, now that doesn't mean daily, okay, but on a regular basis, a couple times a week, something's going on. That's regardless of your age. I don't care if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s, but if you're not getting morning wood, pitching a tent, you know what I'm talking about, guys, on a regular basis, that's a sign that something's going on. It could be a number of things. It could be a smoker. It could be diabetic. It could be overweight. You could be eating a bad diet. But that's warning sign number one that maybe you ought to go in, get the blood test, get the total testosterone, free testosterone, estradiol. Another thing they measure is your IGF-1 levels too, your growth hormone. But there seemed to be a real interest in that. And I might even like to expand on that a little more next year.
Yeah. You know what was crazy too,
That'd be
Pat?
a great idea.
Yeah.
Because you were on right after me, right? If I remember correctly.
I believe so.
Yeah. So we didn't talk beforehand about what we were going to talk about, the details of the speech.
Right.
And then they all kind of lead into each other because I had hinted just for a small section how working out's not about being aesthetic and looking hot for chicks. It's about muting fear, dealing with depression, that sort of thing. And then you came in and just amped it up to 11 with the extra details. And then every speaker afterwards during the day would kind of build on this same knowledge, which was just awesome.
Right. I knew that Rich Cooper was going to do it. I didn't want to steal too much of his thunder, but what Ryan just talked about, they're working out. People think I work out because I want to be big, strong, have showy muscles.
Which you are, by the way. Holy jeez.
Working out is my therapy. That's, some guys drink, some guys do drugs, some people run. That's my therapy. That's my therapist. When I go to the gym, that's how I blow off my steam.
Hey, I think it needs to be mentioned right now, though, that if you're 25 years old and you got low T, testosterone replacement therapy will make it very difficult for you to have children. So you need to go back into your doctor and find out what else is going on. Because if you're 25 and you got low T, there's something else going on inside your body that is causing that to happen, whether it's adrenal gland, stress, whatever it is. Let's figure that out. Figure out what the root causes it. Now, if you're 40 or 50 like me, I mean, it's just natural that you're going to go down. But the TRT is amazing. Once you're past worrying about having kids, go for it.
You can, by the way, cautionary note here, you can still get somebody pregnant when you're on hormone replacement therapy.
Oh, yes, you can.
I know a number of people who have. They thought it was like male birth control. Sorry, buddy. You're a dad.
No, wasn't that birth control they tried for a bit there, one that lowers your T to the point where you can't?
Right. Yeah. But that didn't take off. No, if you're on hormone replacement therapy, and usually a dose for most guys is probably between 100 and 150 milligrams of something like testosterone cypionate per week. Now, if you go too high, and then puts you over the high normal level, then you've got all of the side effects associated with the problems associated with that. But even guys that are out there doing steroids like bodybuilders, they can still get chicks pregnant.
Yeah,
it's not. People think it's like a condom. It's no.
Real quick here, I saw somebody in the chat. They said something about no fap dairy. And this probably has something to do with this, but a lot of guys jerk off, and because of the widespread availability of porn, you got a lot of guys who are in their early 20s who have a porn addiction. Porn addiction will absolutely lower your testosterone to the point where you couldn't pitch a tent if you had a girl in front of you. We get guys talking about, I've got ED, and well, how old are you? I'm 22. No, you don't have ED. You jerk off too much. That's why you have low testosterone. That's why you're depressed. And then of course you got a couple of guys in here in the chat, who's saying, hey, squats and deadlifts and all that will take care of the T. Okay, that's fine. But when you're a 41-year-old man, you can't just go to the gym and do squats and deadlifts and raise my T levels to the point where I can pitch a tent every morning. It does.
I tell you what, squats,
therapy.
you do high rep squats. I'm serious, a couple sets, and I don't care if you're 40 or 50. That's still going to make a difference. You're going to feel the difference the next day. With squats, high rep squats, and high rep deadlifts have an overall metabolic impact, unlike any other exercise.
Hey, we just got Drew Bays in. I'm sure he wants to chime in on the testosterone replacement therapy.
Welcome, Drew. I think you're still muted.
He's muted.
I told him to mute his mic when he hopped on. See if he
I like that profile picture. He's got like the Zoolander blue steel look.
I know.
That's rough, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. Latira.
Oh, there he is. Okay, go ahead, Drew. Is he on? He just unmuted. I can't hear him right now.
Yep. We'll see what he says in the chat.
We'll come back to him. Ryan stepped up his speech game in a big way, I think. I thought you get the award for I would say the most humor. You and Alan Roger Curry probably have the award for the most humorous talk this year.
Well, he inspired me from last year's one. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was yours about?
Well, it was, I think Carl and I came up with the working title of Stop Stepping on Your Own Dick and Analyzing the Footprint. And honestly, it's crazy. I was noticing on Twitter, we had like a Roosh thing commented on some guy took a girl to a Jordan Peterson talk, washed his dick, cleaned his room, but she still left. And that was the exact topic of the speech this year. It was basically everything you're doing to sabotage your own success. And it's just like Pat was saying, I actually got that lesson from Venkatesh Rao and a lot of like speech writers, and that if you can't be engaging, entertaining, and tell a story, it's very hard to get information across. So that was 100% agree with Pat there. If you can't bring it about in a way that somebody can resonate with, bring like pathos or whatever, it doesn't really work. So I'd use some personal stories talking about how working out saved me from a life of anxiety and stress, how it's important for that, how a lot of guys will do, and my favorite term is the cold shower, where, cold showers bring up your testosterone, make you a man. It's literally the worst thing you can do because it doesn't solve anything, but it makes you feel good. It's kind of like jerking off. A bit into narcissism, which I still think there's a pejorative attached to it that's really tragic, because if you get it, like, sure, there's a clinical narcissistic personality disorder. Let's say that's a 10. Most guys are like at a 3, which is totally wrong. There's that Goldilocks zone you need to get. And then the thing that set the most people off, I got a lot of hate mail for this, was talking about just writing it down in a journal. I made a joke, or a log. I said a journal is for chicks and a log is for men, or chicks are for diaries. Mm-hmm. And then the fragile masculinity hash tweet started coming in. It was actually a really good time. Yeah. But it's nice because, all you guys, you do evolutionary psychology. Pat has his therapy. It got Rich on entrepreneur. So everybody kind of has their own specialty there. And it's really hard to kind of make your own niche in that. And so I found the best approach was just, it's like the common man's philosophy Bible or something like that. Just get it out to a way that you would just be chilling with a guy talking about. Plus, I've always wanted a stand-up career, so
I know.
The fact that I was killing it at 9 in the morning was pretty impressive.
I gotta hit this real quick, just briefly before maybe Drew Bay hops in. So I had several attendees and staff and volunteers talk to me about this. They're actually asking me in the future, like 2019, 2020, to design some sort of red pill comedy skit or red pill stand-up comedy kind of thing. Specifically, they mentioned Rian and Goldman doing that. We've had something like that in the past too, with a PUA speaker. I don't know if you're up to that, Ryan, but maybe you and Goldman could do something like that. Like
100%. Goldman's hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. You guys are fucking hysterical, both of you guys. I think I'm all for that.
We'll do like the Hardy Boys, the mystery of what's under the hat.
Yeah. Now, the only thing is you both have to wear pink MAGA hats when you do it. So
perfect.
Done.
You know, and those hats, man, I cannot believe how those things exploded like right afterwards. When people start seeing those, like, where do I get those? I knew that that TradCon women would be like all over.
Dude, I wore this to a bar, this red one, on Thursday night, and everybody, women, men, bouncers, staff, girls, Hillary supporters, Trump supporters, everybody fucking loves it. It seems like everybody out in public that doesn't know anything about the Manosphere or whatever, they just see it and they interpret it to whatever they like. So the Hillary supporters think it's like we're stealing it from the Trump supporters. Like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, make women great again. And the Trump supporters are like, fuck yeah, make women great again. Yeah. So it's like everybody is like, yeah, like they're all about it. It's really interesting how it's riding that balance, like that tightrope.
Yeah.
So it's fucking awesome. I got a pink one coming too. I'm excited to wear that one. Trigger the fuck out of some feminists with that.
Tex, what was yours about? As if I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I kind of managed to do a couple of things at once. Thanks to Ryan for the term Batman origin story, because that's what I did first 15 minutes or so, talking about how we unfucked ourselves and got to where we are. You know, one of the things Hypnotica hit me with was a simple phrase about being an elder and transitioning from warrior to elder. And I realized that's kind of where I seem to be falling these days. Did some stuff on dominance and submission, because very few people in the room have a clue what it's all about. And it's not just kinky sex. There's a lot of stuff behind that. And then I just tried to end up on some general thoughts of things I wanted to say. I can tell you this much. I walked off kind of dazed, and I walked off thinking about how many things that I forgot to say. And, you know, I had more to say, and it just slipped by me, but it was an amazing experience.
Great. Did we get Drew?
I don't know. Drew, you there?
Drew, are you there?
I think he's having audio issues or something.
Yeah, he's having audio issues right now. All right.
Yeah. He did well on the Red Man group, man. I'd never talked to him before. And I think the first question I threw off to him when I was the moderator, I think it had something to do with red pill. And he's like, well, that's not really my lane, but I'm going to give my opinion anyway. I was like, oh, okay, well, awesome.
Yeah.
But that was good, though. That was really
Anthony,
good.
You know, Anthony, you're I think my talk and your talk really kind of dovetailed nicely together. So why don't you lay that one out for us?
Oh yeah. So yeah, I totally agree. They dovetailed better than I even thought. I figured that would kind of happen, but they worked together really well. Like almost like kind of a ping pong, you know, back and forth teamwork kind of thing. And we talked about that a little bit through DM leading up to the event, but it went way better than I thought it would, that kind of interaction. So my talk was a sequel to last year's keynote at the event. But your talk was kind of a keynote to this year as well, Rollo. I gave you that huge extended spot. You gave the longest talk at the event.
Yeah.
And I see it as like my talk being like the front end keynote, and yours is like the deeper, more intellectual one. Mine was more like a war update. Like, how are we going to destroy feminism? What's going on with the business? What's going on with the event? But anyway, the title of my talk was The Future is Still Masculine. So sequel to last year's The Future is Masculine. And I basically gave an update on the company, what was going on, and how we're actually combating feminism, things we're doing. I also unveiled this hat during that talk. That was a last minute addition. And I'm glad I did. People are really loving it. It's taken off. And we'll see what happens with that going forward. And I have actually some major plans for this hat and its idea in the future that I have not revealed yet publicly, but I will be in the near future.
I was going to say, TradCon feminists are going to just jump all over that and think that it means something that it doesn't.
Well, and what I have, like I posted today before the show went live, we live in a culture right now that is so feminist, you know, feminine primary, that we value women today value selfies and ass pics on Instagram over motherhood and marriage. So we really do need to make women great again. We need to facilitate that happening. Do we play Captain Save-A-Ho? No. Women can fix themselves or not. I'm more concerned about younger women who are, you know, 18, 19, 20 right now,
right,
that have zero outlet at all for any kind of positive education. They have feminism and that kind of everything on the culture for that. And then they have maybe family and religion and stuff like that. And that's it.
Red Pill Women subreddit.
Yeah,
they're pulling separated, but that's not big, and it's not.
No, it's
that's
not big.
Quite.
It's not big, and a lot of and I don't know, I don't want to step on any toes here. I don't know if you guys are familiar with any of the mods there, but the ideas that they endorse are largely feminist. Somebody said it best. Most women don't identify as feminists, but they have feminist beliefs and stances, and I think that's what
exactly.
Nice.
I talked about. We got Sean Smith.
Yeah, I was gonna say we just got Sean. Sean, why don't you unmute your mic, Sean, and tell us what your impressions were and what your speech was about. I thought yours was really good.
Yeah, nobody knew that Sean was 6'7" until he got there. Holy shit, that's a total glass of water.
Yeah. You're still muted, Sean. Oh, unmute. Now he's good. Now he figured it out. There you go.
Yeah,
He had to raise the mic.
Yeah. So what did you think of your first 21 convention, Sean?
Oh man, it was a blast. I have not had that much fun in a long, long time. But the thing that really struck me about it was I keep not one foot, I keep one toe in the academic world. And that's a world where it's all about conformity and uniformity. If you don't think the right things and say the right things, you're going to pay a price for it. And I came to this place with all these guys that, career-wise and political-wise and the role of women in their lives, these guys are all over the board. And it was congenial. And everybody was accepting. I mean, if you want to talk about, the people that talk about diversity and they scream the loudest about tolerance should come to an event like this and learn something from these group of guys, because it was the most welcoming, warm, congenial group of guys I've ever seen, just buttoned down, straight on their path, squared away. It was awesome. The attendees and the speakers.
Yeah, I thought your speech was great. I like having you there. I liked having Dr. Glover there as well, because it really adds to, I think, the quality of the speakers, like just for lack of a better word, the diversity amongst the speakers as well. And just having you guys there, I really think that it kind of upped the legitimacy. Honestly, it's not just a bunch of pickup artists getting together and throwing rah pep rally shit out there. I think what we do, and this is my impression, what we do at the 21 convention now, the Red Pill Summit, is we give out tools. We give out real concrete, substantial tools and truths, and give you ideas. I like the fact that we do that without sort of, coming up with like a 12-step, prescription or something like that. It's basically, here's the tools, here's what we're seeing, here's what's going on, and you can take these things and apply them to your lives personally. We do that without sort of, coming up with like a 12.
Mute Drew.
Yeah,
Drew,
Drew came up. We're seeing, here's what's going on.
Drew, you got to mute your mic.
Hey, Drew,
sorry.
And apply them to your life personally. There, I got him. I got him now.
I muted it. Yeah.
So yeah, here it was.
Drew, you got to turn on your YouTube video.
A hoot, man. That guy was a riot to listen to, and he had some interesting thoughts that he'd been working on about men and women, and he was pretty entertaining. And that's what I tried to do, was give guys some specific tools. I guess I was trying to be the cautionary note of the weekend. We got guys of all stripes trying to bring women into their lives in some capacity, whether more on the Hunter Drew end, where you're traditional family oriented, or you're more on the Caleb Jones end. And we've gotten to this point in society where you have the wrong woman in your life, it could just destroy you if she's anywhere in your sphere of influence. And so I told a couple of horror stories, but then I tried to give these guys some specific tools that I've noticed among successful, motivated guys in my career, that there's a particular risk that guys that are focused and driven, they face with women. And so I tried to give some specific tools to try to counteract that.
Cool. Hey, Pat's gotta leave. Thought you might have some final words for us, Pat.
I just was really blown away by the caliber of everything Anthony put together. Great opportunity. The coolest thing was, I can't remember what night it was. I think maybe Saturday night. I just went out to the pool. You were out there with Rich and Ryan and Donovan.
We took our boy band picture.
Yes. It'd be so cool if we lived that close together. You could just do that all the time. But that was awesome. I enjoyed that. Appreciate it.
Poolside Summit.
Yeah, it was great. It was great having you.
Anthony, thanks so much. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, Pat, thank you for coming out, man. 100%.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Hey, let's get Drew in here. Drew, go ahead and unmute your mic, Drew, and let's get your tell us what you thought of this year's 21 convention. You've been what is this, your third or your fourth? How many times has Drew been on this?
Since 2009.
Wow. So what do you think of the direction that the convention is taking?
I think it's absolutely phenomenal. I think the last 2 years have been probably the best in terms of the value it provides to men's overall lives as opposed to just the pickup stuff. I think 2009 was the first one that I spoke at, and it was impressive. And I was not a part of the pickup scene or any of that. Well, Rollo, you were in a band. I was in a band when I was younger. They just throw themselves at you. So I didn't really need to think much about it. Never really got into it. But just listening to some of the attendees, talking to the speakers in between, I was blown away by how much more there was to it than just walking up to women and saying, hey, you want to fuck? I was impressed. In fact, it's one of the things that I would, anybody that's on the fence about this, yeah, you can hang out and watch the videos later on, but there is absolutely no replacement for being able to interact with the speakers and the other attendees and to actually go there and ask your questions. This year, though, and the last year, it's just a huge, the shift towards red pill and the increased value that provides, I think, has been tremendous. And I mentioned this when we did the live one. I didn't so much get red pilled as I got the slow release patch. I've been getting it in like little bits and pieces over a longer period of time. And now that I'm, a little bit more involved in this, not so much in the teaching end, but really kind of trying to absorb as much info from all you guys as I can. The shift is absolutely, refreshing is probably the thing that comes to mind, is just having so much more, probably just control. Mm-hmm. And just in my own relationships with my wife, my son, people in general, having this understanding and level of knowledge has just been, it's improved things tremendously. Just with my wife, I fell into the trap that a lot of guys did, the old, one-itis thing. And earlier on, I was really caught up in that whole, a happy wife, happy life thing. And I thought, I need to do this and I need to do that to make sure that we keep her happy and keep everything going. And it was not horrible, but it wasn't great either. The shift in how she acts towards me and the relationship in general has been just a tremendous thing. The change is absolutely phenomenal, since shifting away from focusing everything on keeping her happy to focusing on what I want to do in terms of my mission and just being the best that I can. Even more importantly, my primary responsibility as a parent is giving my son the tools he needs to be able to be successful as an adult. And being able to pass this on to him, not only is it going to make him a more successful adult, a happier adult, but it's going to allow him to more effectively navigate all the kind of bullshit that a lot of us probably went through when we were younger. If I had this stuff when I was 13, 14, I would probably be way better off than I am now. And I can give him that advantage. It was phenomenal seeing some of the younger people there, because I don't know if they appreciate the advantage they have now being exposed to this at their age. And there was one guy that brought his son, and I think he was maybe 15, 16 or something. And I told him, I said, you have no idea how much you owe your father for bringing you to this event.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
you brought your son too, right, Drew?
I had go ahead. I had a guy, I wanted to move on to this next topic here in a minute, but I had a guy tell me, one of the attendees there, tell me that after my speech and after, like, I think my speech was Friday, so it would have been I think Friday evening or something, or maybe Saturday morning. The guy was telling me that we are on the cusp of like something like big, like so on a society wide level.
Yes. Yep.
Like as in, I mean, I always sort of rewind all the way back to the sexual revolution for when things started to change, with regard to intersexual dynamics and, the gynocracy and, the feminine primary social order, all that good stuff. And I think that with the advent of the internet, this is sort of a game changer for men and masculinity. And hopefully this is going to be the pendulum swing back. I think that little by little, I mean, incrementally, I think the red pill, for it to initialize any kind of social change, it's got to be from the bottom up, and it's got to be, man by man. So it's like, and I think this organization and this convention is really sort of the catalyst for that. It's not about feel good, rah, Tony Robbins, RSD, positive, power, positive thinking stuff. I mean, there's some of that, but there's some, we all want to be better versions of ourselves. We all want to, like, I think it was Jack Donovan was saying, we all want to, most people like live for the weekend. I think that the guys with red pill awareness understand that there's no such thing as contentment. You can be constructively discontent or you can be constructively discontent, but there's no true lasting contentment. And that's a good thing, because that pushes us on to bigger and better. And I think that we're sort of coming into an awareness, a larger kind of social awareness. Like I was talking about in my speech, I was just so people who weren't there know, I did my topic was on the state of the Manosphere address. And I went through what I call a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And it's real easy to get bogged down, I think, in the weaknesses and the threats parts of those. But I think it's more important to really see what the opportunities are and what our strengths are at this point. Because that is going to sort of direct us, I think, going forward in the future. I think the 21 convention will end up being a catalyst that we look back on and we say, okay, this is where things begin to change. This is where it started.
Exactly.
And like back in people say this is kind of like the Beat generation from back in the 40s. I mean, we're a collection of thinkers, we're a collection of writers, we're a collection of, in some cases, artists. We're a collection of guys who basically see the code in the matrix, for lack of a better term, when it comes to intersexual dynamics, and we want to do something about it. And this is how we go about it. And this is sort of our thing. I see an upcoming gender Cold War of a sorts. I made comparisons to the Gestalt masculine against the Gestalt feminine, and there's going to come a point where women are going to have to either decide that they're going to be on board with the Believe Women or the resistance influence in society, or they're going to have to come across to where we're at. So, yeah, I mean, at some point we're going to have to realize that this is that catalyst.
I've actually, I don't know if you guys have seen this, you probably have, but it gets overlooked because it's so built into the videos. At the front end of every speech for many years now, probably 6, 7, 8 years now, the bumper, the animation for the speeches is the men's conference of the century. I put that actually meaning that at the time, but now I'm seeing it come to fruition over time. It's really like exactly in the chat here, Texas Dom just said, we went from the under 21 convention when I started it, because I was 17 years old building this the first time, to the ultimate gathering of men in the 21st century. And that's what it is. This is our Seneca Falls for the modern men, for masculinity. And I agree with Rollo. We're going to see men and women both, the beta male, Vichy males, and the women and all this shit, everybody, right? Of all age brackets and demographics. They have to pick right now in America and the West, team feminism or team masculinity. That's how I broke it down in my talk, and that's what it comes down to. Masculinity, positive conventional masculinity, like we talk about, like Rollo spearheads, is healthy and positive for the culture. It's rational. It's a future. It's not tracked on stuff either. Whatever the merits of that stuff were, it led to feminism. So it's a merits to it, some drawbacks, but the future is not traditionalism. It's masculinity. It's American masculinity. It's Western masculinity. The masculinity that built America and built the West, that built the greatest civilization the world's ever seen. Yeah. I agree with Rollo 100%.
So team masculinity, there's so many guys out there don't know that exist. That's the problem, right?
They will soon.
Or they think
One man tells one,
or
right?
they've been conditioned by the blue pill to think that anything masculine is toxic. Anything that doesn't any aspect of masculinity that doesn't serve the feminine imperative is automatically toxic. And it's ridiculous, or it's dangerous, or it's toxic, or it's a throwback, you know, to 1950s. And it's all I've got a post that's upcoming. And I one of the things I really learned from this experience is that our critics tend to reflexively go to this binary extreme where it's like, oh, it's a bunch of guys getting together and they're talking about how to destroy feminism and it's all about toxic masculinity. It's like everything that the blue pill has taught them for so long. It can end up being, you know, just guys getting together. I even said this in my speech. I said, just guys getting together and coming together to talk about these issues. That is not allowable. That is something that, you know, the feminine imperative wants to disband. That's why I was talking about male space. There is an active effort to disenfranchise and deplatform and to break up any kind of collection of guys who are getting together to talk about anything that might in some way, you know, be unflattering to the feminine. I think that's one of the things that we really have to watch out for. Hey, Sean has to take off. So Sean, you got any final words for us here?
Yeah, I'll just build on that last point. You know, part of this invading male spaces and dismantling male spaces, that's part of what's building this male space. And it's a beautiful thing. And man, I hope it continues. And Anthony, man, you just put together a world-class event. All you speakers were amazing. Every guy that I talked to took something from every talk. Some talks say took a little, some talks say took a lot because, you know, different kinds of guys in there, but everybody took something from every talk. And I'm just really happy to be a part of it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for being there, Sean. It was awesome having you there.
Absolutely. Love meeting you.
Yeah. I think Donovan has something to add here.
And I want to make this clear. I'm not exaggerating by any stretch of the imagination here. I don't want guys to think that I'm using hyperbole for effect because that's what I do on my show. I use hyperbolic terms and, you know, absolutions and all that, but we are truly at the ground floor of something major. And I didn't realize that until Anthony laid out plans to expand 21 studios. You know, when you hear things like multi-million-dollar facility, investors, monthly material, monthly meetings, frequent events overseas, when and if feminism is ever vanquished on a level that is satisfactory, I guess, to the masculine, we're going to look back and our faces are going to be associated with that revolution. And I know a lot of guys might think, and it's weird to hear myself even say that now, but I think that's really what's going to happen. They're going to look back. They're going to say, you know what? Back in the late 20 teens, this group of guys, this group of 20, 30, 40, 50 guys, these guys were the catalyst to bring back masculinity. These guys allowed us to take back our country.
I can't wait to see my wiki page.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm wondering if I don't have one already.
Listen, Alan Roger Curry already has a Wikipedia page. And the reason for that is because he's been all around. He's been a brand for 3 decades. But I think this thing is really going to get huge. And the reason why it's getting huge is because of not only the quality of the event, the quality of the speakers. We all come from different walks of life, but we're all on the same side. And when all is said and done, I used to be of the mind that feminism is going to be it's going to be full steam even years after I'm dead and buried. That might still be the case, but just like Richard Cooper said, man, we really are making a dent in the universe. And if there is any sort of substantive change that's going to happen within the next 10, 15, 20 years, we are going to be the guys. They're going to be like, you know what? Those guys doing the 21 convention in Orlando every month now, those are the guys that started this. So I think I feel privileged to be a part of something like
Hell
that.
yeah.
And
let
do
me
too.
jump in here.
Yeah,
let me jump in here too real quick. So I wanted to build off earlier because Donovan seemed better. We brought this up earlier. So what he said earlier and now, most women today don't identify as feminists. They stay the hell away from it. It's a shitty brand. But those radical feminists in the preceding decades, They were so intolerant and so aggressive and so, I'm not saying is perfect, but it was effective. They were effective in indoctrinating a huge chunk of women, a huge chunk of the population, a huge chunk of men. All the beta blue pill lies. A lot of those are from feminism. Some of it's not, but a lot of it is. We are the counter aspect to that. We are going to be we're building power and influence and men and camaraderie and teamwork, like I was saying at the event and live events. That is the counter to feminism. The manosphere is it's not a flip side. They're very different, but it's a response to feminism. We're building that, and we're seeing that blow up now. And that's what's going to happen. We're never going to red pill 90% of the population. It's absurd. But we can red pill a significant chunk that we can disseminate or, distribute those ideas out in the culture that are very positive and healthy. Whereas feminism did that in a very negative, toxic way, which is why they project it onto us. They say toxic masculinity. No, go fuck yourself. Feminism's toxic as hell.
You see that though. There's studies that go out about this, trying to find out how minorities can drive the extremes drive the narrative. And it was something like 15-20%. If that much of a group like pushes the direction in a different way, it actually just drives the Overton window over. So you're right.
Exactly.
You don't need 80%.
Exactly. Nassim Taleb too. If you guys know him, the author Nicholas Nassim Taleb, he has a whole article on this, an essay he put out, like the intolerant minority wins. That is, we keep it peaceful, we keep it lawful, of course, we stay 100% true to everything like that. But we get persistent, we get annoying, we get assertive with what we need and what we want and what we think is best for the culture. And we don't fucking apologize for it. Zero apologies, zero compromise.
Straight up, man. Listen, no apologies, man.
Exactly. Well, that sort of gets on to what I was going to say next here is like, I tweeted about this too. It seems like for all of these conventions, I've been to 2, but it seems like at all of these conventions, there's like something I take away from one of the attendees or multiple guys from the attendees. And I think it's great. Like during my speech, I swear to God, I wasn't fishing for this, but like I was always concerned. My major concern right now is getting deplatformed and having having Amazon do to me what they did to Roosh recently, and just like basically banning my books. And my greatest concern is reaching the guys who need this, because during my speech, I asked for a show of hands. I said, how many guys here have had their lives changed or have had their lives saved by my work? And like damn near every hand in the auditorium came up. And it's like when I see that and I see guys whose lives have been impacted either by my work or by you guys' work, anything, it's like I really hate to think that we would get cut off from that, and that we would lose our ability to disseminate that. That's one of the reasons why I always say, I always tell guys to, buy the print book and hand it off and pass it along and be a mentor. And one of the reasons I wrote the 3rd book for red pill parents, so that they can mentor the next generation, so they can raise the next set of boys who need this, from the ground up, and to counter blue pill conditioning. And that's a huge threat to the feminine imperative. It's a huge threat to gynocentrism. And that's why you're seeing this now, why there's this effort to break up male space. That's why women can have their female exclusive organizations and men cannot. That's why I was made the comparison here. Like Harvard has basically disbanded all male exclusive clubs on campus, but yet all of the female exclusive ones are still there. And they petitioned for that, and the feminists petitioned for that, and they got that. And that's just one illustration of removing the man and trying to basically make sure that we don't collect together. And I was just looking in the chat here. Some guy was saying, when guys get together, everybody automatically thinks, oh, these guys are gay. And that I think was George Bruno was telling me when I first got there that some woman had come into the bar that was in the hotel we were at, and had kind of like, elbowed him and says, is this like a gay convention or something? Or is this a bunch of guys getting, is this a sausage fest or something like that? That's what she was saying.
Yes.
And it's interesting that is sort of the default assumption that when a bunch of guys get together, it must be because they're all trying to fuck each other. Right.
I think
they have to undermine it.
And I had one of the attendees there say, thank you for creating an organization and creating an event where guys can get together and we can be guys, and we don't have to worry about like, are we all getting together because we're gay, or are we all going to get together because we're trying to do some sort of pep rally thing? It's good because this is like unlike anything else. And I had one other incident with an attendee. But before I get into that, I just wanted to go around here and say, did you have a point during the convention where something really significantly impacted you that was feedback from one of the attendees? Was there somebody who said something to you that really kind of stopped you in your tracks?
Yeah, I'll go first on this one.
Okay.
It's first thing was when I walked in, and then as soon as I got through the door, guys are already shaking my hand. And I think Donovan talked about this before, where somebody knows you, but you don't know them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a strange feeling. And then I'm glad I don't have a lot of suicide prevention under my belt, because I would probably be more awkward than gracious about it. I don't know what even the word for it is. That, and hearing, honestly, my favorite part was Dr. Smith when he was talking about, I brought up some narcissism stuff and some clinical things, and I'm looking over at the doc to see if he's shaking his head, and he actually goes, I think you're smarter and have more to say than you think. So it's nice to have somebody put some faith into something that you just kind of putting together that was just kind of a hobby for you. So I'd say that was the part for me that and the entrepreneurs in the group kicking my ass there kind of encouraged me to step up my game a little bit here. So yeah, that'd be my I don't even know what to call it. I don't have a fancy glib term for it.
Significant impact from I'll just go ahead and say what mine was. I was and I tweeted about this. I was waiting at valet for my car because I think it was taking off for the evening, and I had a guy come up to me, did not look anything like one of the guys who would be attending our event. Guy comes up to me, introduces his wife. He's kind of like an older gentleman, introduces himself, says he's 70 years old. His wife is there as well. She looked to be about the same age. They're retired. Lady had a service dog with her. And the guy said, introduced himself, says, "You're Rollo, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "I just wanted to let you know that I came out here to see you personally and to shake your hand and to thank you for your book." And his wife chimes in and she says, "Thank you for giving us our son back." And these are people that I would never have thought of as being attendees for this, but they would come down just to tell me that their son had made some pretty poor decisions in his life with regard to women, because he was very blue pill and because he was very supplicative and, did not make himself his own mental point of origin, did not know, certainly wasn't red pill aware, and was on the brink of suicide, I guess. And the guy who was the father was familiar with my work, gave him my book. The guy read it and just devoured it. And now the guy has got out of that situation, has pulled himself away from that, and is no longer suicidal, I guess. And so, the lady was she's so sweet, and I was like, this is like a husband and a wife coming to tell me, thank you for your book. Right. And I was like, usually it's guys like last year, my significant impact was a guy who had flown out to see me to, tell me personally that my book had saved his life. Like he had plans to kill himself and had set a date for it, and then had come across my work and decided that he was going to not do that and, try to make the best of a bad situation. The guy had been zeroed out, and through my work had decided to, instead of throw his life away, is to rebuild himself once again. And so that was very impactful to me, because I'm not used to that. I'm sitting in this studio writing all day long, and it's very, introverted, where you're writing and you think that it's an extroversion. It's not. But when you go from this kind of isolation to having, 200 guys wanting to shake your hand and tell you that they're from, Belgium, or they're from, I met a guy from Australia. I met a guy from Belarus. I met a couple of guys from Ghana, We
had a guy come in from India, literally flew in from Mumbai or something.
Yeah. International. So that's kind of what I was saying is, did you guys have an incident like that for you at this convention?
Actually, you know what? I don't have any incidents that were profound. I had plenty of conversations. Actually talked to an Indian guy who talked about his wife. But the coolest thing that I experienced while I was there, rolls up on me with Rollo's book and says, "Hey, Rollo Tomasi signed this book. Would you sign it for me?" I was like, "Check this out. Got to sign my first autograph." So that was pretty cool. Nothing profound or anything like that. I don't have that kind of impact, at least not yet. But
was he the one that sold that $500 Rational Mail book online with
signatures?
Oh my God, yeah, right, probably. Donovan and Rollo on the same book.
Collectibles. Collector's item. Yeah. Go ahead, Tex. Go ahead, Tex.
I think the one thing that got me, the one conversation that probably hit me between the eyes of hardest, the guy walked up and said, "Hey, I read Rational Male. I got red pilled a couple of years ago, and I was so disgusted at my marriage and my wife and everything else." And he said, and I was just ready to pull the plug and get the divorce thing. And he said, "I read some of your shit, and you're still married 30 years later. You're still red pilled as fuck. And you're still living life the way you want to live it. And you're still doing it with the girl that you committed 2 years ago. And it's working for you." He said, "I decided not to get divorced and to stick it out a little while." And I don't know how, impact on me, but on him, he's talking about his kids, his grandkids, and that, they kept the family together. And I mean, someone tells me that, it's like, shit, yeah, man, I'm going to keep doing this as long as I possibly can.
It's ripples in the pond, man.
I have to say, I'm fucking amazed that we have sons, fathers, and grandfathers and parents attending this convention together.
Yeah.
I saw the couple you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about, the guy and his wife.
Yeah.
The last night I met them, and I was like, holy. And they told me a little bit about what you had said, and I was like, holy shit.
They were married 47 years. I'm thinking I'm all badass 30 years. You guys said, we've been married 47 years.
And they're looking at my book as like the guide to a good marriage too.
Tex is a young whippersnapper at our event.
I had, and then you know what, I kind of have to mention this too, because there was a guy with his son there, his 13 or 14-year-old son. And the guy was very kind of beta, very kind of neebish, wanted to talk to me and was trying to get, maybe even work up the nerve to talk to me. And I sat down with the guy when we were at the second night when we were at the restaurant for the get together. And I felt like it was it was incumbent upon me to sit there and listen to this guy. And he was telling me his situation with his wife, who seemed to me to have some severe psychological problems. Mm-hmm. And he's asking me for, input and advice. And he was telling me all this stuff. And his son was there too, backing his dad up, like saying like, yeah, she's really crazy, and I sat there probably for about 45 minutes with this guy talking to him. And really, I think I might've been a little bit out of my depth for this guy, because this is probably somebody like Dr. Sean should probably be talking to, because it seemed like this kid's mother and this other guy's wife seemed to have like this almost like hostile, like she was like seriously like abusive, hostile sense of possessiveness over this guy who was very, very beta. And then apparently something has changed in their relationship where she's now making more money than he is. And that has like set her psychosis off. And so listening to that I don't want to make a big deal about that. I really think that's probably something they need to talk to about, with Dr. Sean. Like I said, it's a little out of my element, but that's the kind of stuff that I'm sitting there and I'm fielding questions like this from a red pill perspective. And, I do have a background in psychology, but I don't have a doctorate in psychology. So when I'm talking to guys like this, I mean, they're coming to us for help. They're coming to us to say, I heard you could help me in my position. I heard you could help, could give me the tools or give me at least something to think about. And it dawned on me right then just how serious this thing is, just how serious an event this is. But anybody else have like an event or something? Go ahead, Drew.
I haven't saved any marriages or lives that I'm aware of, but last year's convention, I spent some time in between the talks talking with some of the guys that were there, and talked to one young man who was very overweight. And when I saw him at this year's convention, it took me a little bit. He looked familiar, but I couldn't quite figure it out until I realized, holy crap, this guy dropped a ton of weight. And it was somebody that I did a consultation with shortly after the last one. And he said he's down 50 pounds from last year. So he's lost at least, about a pound or so a week, which a lot of people ask for advice. And Donovan, were you the one that talked about assholes in your presentation, or was it Richard? I think it might have been Richard.
It might have been Richard. Yeah, I talked about Kevin and sales.
Anybody that comes up to me and asks questions at the event, I'm going to take the time to answer their questions. But and this happens at other events too, and this happens with people through the website, and it seems like about 90% of the time they want you to talk to them, but they don't really want advice. They want you to confirm the stuff that they already think they know.
Yes.
That has not been the case with the 21 convention attendees, though. I mean, these are people who sincerely are there to do the work. And this guy was a prime example. But I was absolutely shocked. He looked completely different than last year. So maybe long term it'll give him another 10, 20 years on his life if he keeps it up. Not quite the same.
There you go. You saved
Anything else? And
his life.
Get laid.
Yeah.
But speaking of weight loss, I think last year's convention lit a fire under Socrates' ass, and he dropped 80 pounds since last convention in 1 year. He's been keeping it off. So hell yeah.
Is he fasting? Is he doing the intermittent fasting thing?
Yeah, it's helping it. He's eating like a paleo style diet, and on top of that, working with intermittent fasting. So hell yeah, and more sleep too. He's getting a lot more sleep. He's taking that seriously.
Yeah, intermittent fasting is one of those things that I really wanted to talk about and just fucking forgot to. But I tell you, it's been mind-boggling. I've lost 40 pounds since a year ago, just doing IF 2 days a week.
Compliment to you too, Anthony. Ed and I were both talking how we accidentally started fasting during the convention because we were so damn busy.
Yeah, me too.
Like 16 hours. Yeah.
I work you guys like dogs.
And I can't and I can't stand to lose another 5 pounds.
Yeah.
We're gonna get Rollo jacked by next year. He's
Rollo's
gonna
a hard gainer.
I'm a hard gainer, and no, I don't have cancer. Jesus Christ!
We're gonna get him looking like Pat Campbell.
And for anybody who wonders whether I went on my talk with my beanie on or my hat on, no, I didn't. I actually, and no, I'm not. I'm not in third stage cancer. I'm not in remission. I know. That's funny to me. Is like a guy like Tim Pool can wear like a beanie like this, like on every damn video he does. Nobody gives him shit like that, but they go, "Oh, Rollo, he's always got his hand on."
Hey, speaking of looks and stuff, though, Ryan, you lost a lot of weight since last year, and I'd seen that in a Redman group, obviously, but seeing you in person, it was very noticeable. Bravo, man! Fuck yeah!
Yeah, it was nice. Like I said, I started off when I first started my red pill journey at I think 210, 215. That's when I was talking about the SSRIs and that. So constant struggle.
I'm not dying. Jesus Christ. Start a GoFundMe for me. I'm not dying. I go to the gym. Come on.
2019 Redman, come see Rollo for the final time.
I should play.
Give him his last rites.
Sorry, you're gonna have to help me out.
Well, we'll have 2 events. Next year. And in 2020, we'll see if we can do 3 again. We did 3 in 2012. So we'll see if we can pull that off as well.
Having said that, Rollo, your next speech, you got to wear that Slayer shirt you had on there.
Oh yeah, dude.
Well, you know,
that'd be epic. That'd be epic.
That tripped everybody out too because I was hot, man. I mean, it's Florida. I'm like, fuck it. I think there's this understanding, or this maybe it's a preconception that if you're speaking at the 21 convention, you've got to look your best. You've got to like at least go with the impression that, you know, you take care of yourself and that, you know, you want to look good for people. You know, maybe they see you once a year and maybe there's going to be some pictures taken of you and everything. And then at one point I'm just like, fuck it, I'm hot.
But yeah, it was the perfect, like Scott Weiland last stage of his career kind of look you had going on with that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
And the toque. It's a toque.
I'm not. Yeah, I know. I'm not on heroin.
Oh, we lost Drew Bay. There we go. He had to leave.
There you go. He had to take off. Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Drew. Thanks for coming by, and thanks for.
Yeah, Drew was incredible. Drew was actually, I had never heard of Drew Bay before the 21 convention, but he was incredible on the Redman Group Live, man. Like he was great. Also, Tanner I was pleasantly surprised by him. I thought that he was just like, you know, all fashion guy, but that guy, like the way he talks about, you know, the red pill from a psychological standpoint, that really impressed me, man.
Tanner's a complete badass. Like,
yeah,
you really hear it in his voice. Yeah, he gained 20 pounds of muscle since last year.
Yeah, and he'll bitch slap you.
Jacked.
He will bitch slap you about the fashion comment. It's all about style, not fashion for chicks.
He gave great advice too, man. And by the way, Jack Donovan is act. Like that dude is Jack Donovan, Pat Campbell, all those guys.
Jack has been what I've been reading recently. I'm going through Becoming a Barbarian right now, and then I picked up his first book. I probably should have started with his first book, but Jack is an interesting guy, and I really think he when I was writing Positive Masculinity, was using the term conventional masculinity quite a bit, because I wanted to make sure there's a distinction between like traditional masculinity or traditional roles as opposed to conventional roles, because traditional implies a social influence. It implies social construction. There are certain aspects that are unique to men that are conventional aspects of masculinity. And I have not run across an author who is better able at defining what those conventional aspects of masculinity are than Jack Donovan.
By the way, Jack Donovan is another perfect example of a guy who's like very well aligned with the red pill and the manosphere, but he's not like, he doesn't post on the TRP. I don't even think he was really into it, but he gets along perfectly. He fits right in with us. Totally fucking, like, I love having him at the event now. Yeah. He's like a return. He's returning. I want him back again. He's part of the family. He has a good strong handshake. Real straight. Fuck yeah.
All right.
Yeah, totally fucking badass.
So my next well, if anybody has any questions, I'm watching the chat right now. Unfortunately, we don't have capacity to do phones today. But if you have a question about it.
I'll be back in Sharp Studios at TSR Towers next weekend. So we'll be
I was gonna throw this one out there too. What was your favorite point, and what do you think we can improve upon? So let's say what did you like the best, and
I'll go first, man.
What's the ideas? What's our opportunities? And I don't want to say what's the worst, but what can we improve upon, and what can we do in the future? Go
ahead. My favorite part of the entire event by far was the Heroes Dinner. It was so cool walking around, because I had landed 3 hours before. But that was the coolest thing, dude, just walking around, talking to the attendees, talking to the speakers, taking pictures with you guys. I don't know. I was 5 or 6 whiskey sours in that may or may not have had to do with how good a time I had. But dude, that was absolutely incredible. Like I'll never forget that night. And then of course, then they started passing out wristbands. Wait a minute, you mean I can drink for free for 2 hours? Oh yeah, that was totally cool. And what I liked about Anthony was always visible and always available. Somebody said it earlier, in charge of everything is running around like a chicken with their head cut off. But Anthony was always around. Like you could see him all the time. So it was very cool to be able to, see him there. He's the leader, be able to pick his brain. Then of course we had the Ed Lattimore anaphylactic shock scare. And I remember Anthony, I was standing there talking to Anthony and Ed, and Ivan was right there, and Ed comes up and he's like, "Hey guys, I didn't realize that the salad had nuts in it. Keep an eye on me." Well, I didn't see him after that. And then the next morning I'm having breakfast with Rollo and Devin, and some dude walks up and says, "Hey, has anybody heard from Ed? Like he went to the hospital last night." I'm like, "What? Like what the hell happened there?" Apparently he, went into shock and all this other kind of stuff, but he was totally cool. But yeah, the Heroes Dinner was the coolest part of the event. You absolutely have to bring that back for next year, man. That was awesome. That was great. In terms of what we need to work on, I think the only thing that we can improve on is maybe communicating more to the attendees to keep the location under our hats. It's okay to post on social media, "Hey, I'm chilling with the guys," but be cognizant of your location. When you post something, maybe just put Orlando, Florida. Maybe be cognizant of the backgrounds that are surrounding. Like I took a picture of the Make Women Great Again, and the picture in my hotel room. To myself, you know what? Maybe someone might recognize what hotel that we're at, and that might. And I know it's hard to do that with 200-300 guys, but I think maybe conveying that a little bit further. I think that would help security wise.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's get George in here. Go ahead, George. Go. You're gonna need to unmute.
All right, here we go.
What was your favorite part, and what do you think what can we build upon?
2 things. My favorite part was watching everybody interact with my brother Tony, who 4 months ago, my parents and I thought that he was going to put a gun in his mouth and blow his brains out. And I started sharing some things with him, sending him some videos. He wasn't in a place where soft words would help him. So with people like that, you send them Richard Cooper videos. And Cooper kind of got him online, and then that kind of greased the skids for Rollo's work, and then he got Rollo's audiobook. And then, now this is a guy who's an accomplished business person, super well spoken, mixed martial arts, black belt, all around badass. Probably had more firearms on his body than any human being in that hotel. I mean, just overall SWAT team badass. His girl and him break up. He ends up just being a bowl of jello. And there was a point where we really thought he was going to zero himself out. He's been strengthened by some of the tough talk, some of the compassionate talk. And when he came to the convention, my mom said to me, well, what do you think it did for Tony? I said, why don't you talk to Tony and you tell me what you think? Because I already knew what it did for him. And she says, he's different. I said, yes, he is. Yes, he is. That's my biggest observation.
Tony was awesome, dude. He really was.
He's a good dude, and he lives in Central Florida, as my family does. And he will be a great logistical asset to the 21 organization from here on out. He has this incredible give back kind of thing. He literally, I rescue animals. That's kind of like one of my passions. And they're so appreciative of you when you rescue them. And it reminds me of people. When you reach down into the pit and pull people out, they just want to give back. So Tony is all about giving back right now. And like I said, I think he's going to be an asset to the organization. And he and I had a debriefing, kind of like what we're doing right now. And it all took root. I have zero apprehension or zero fear, because some of the toughest guys are the ones that crumble the fastest. And he's a tough guy. And it not only brought him back up, when I saw him interacting with people, I kept thinking, yep, my brother's back. He's back.
Great.
And that felt really good. Second thing is...
If I can... go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please, go ahead. Say, if I can say real quick here about George. George was... he was the accent to the 21 convention. George brought a level of sophistication and refinement to the entire event, man. The exit interviews, the whole makeup thing, getting us all prepared. George really, it's hard to describe, but George added an element of it's almost as though we were on TV. Like that's the way it felt. George was a complete professional from beginning to end. The exit interview, talk at the beginning, Richard Cooper, that was unbelievable. So George definitely held his. George definitely added a level of sophistication and refinement to the 21 convention. I think your presence there was invaluable, man. It really was. It was great.
Thank you.
That's exactly why. Yeah, hell yeah. I completely support what Donovan just said, and that's exactly why I brought you and Rollo into the ambassador program, or made the nominations for it. You guys both really, in different ways, you both have unique personality and influence on my life and the event. But you both had major influence on the event and improving it and getting it to be as badass as it was this year. I couldn't have done it without all you guys, especially George and Rollo this year.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Well, that's 30 years of being on television. I've done over 350 television commercials. So for me, everything that I've done, the interviews and all that stuff, that's what I do. That's one of the things I do. And I wasn't sure if I was going to have to shelve that and just enjoy the 21 organization as I am, or if I could transfer my skills and experience over, and it seemed like it translated really well. So I was happy about that. The final thing, as far as changes, as a seasoned teacher, university level, one of the things I have discovered over the decades is that in the beginning of classes, I've created college courses that I call competency-based courses, which means this. By the end, on the first day of class, I would tell the students, by the end of this 10-week semester, you will have learned A, B, and C. You will know how to do these things. You will not leave this class until competency is reached in A, B, C. So I like the idea of communicating to attendees, and this is what I would do when I was teaching at the university level. I would tell people, this is how you're going to get the best or get the most out of this course. These are the things that you need to do in order to extract the sweet spot out of this course. And I think a first-time attendee course, maybe the night before, after the initial reception, would be a course named How to Get the Most Out of 21. How to get the most out of your next 4 days. Because there were some people who were kind of dragged there. I met a couple people who were dragged there and didn't really know why they were there. They weren't taking notes. Everybody I know takes notes, even if it's a phrase or a word or something that stands out. And I want people to extract the gold out of every speech. And not everybody's an academic. Not everybody knows how to do that. So I think even a 30-minute session, and I would be willing to do that, on opening night or the night before on reception night, just called How to Get the Most Out of the 21 Convention.
That's a good idea, like a workshop of some sort.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And that'll be exclusive content that won't be filmed, so we'll do it like at the meet and greet. That's a bonus for attending.
Okay.
Boom.
Yeah. And I think see, I love reading. I could actually read forever. I can listen to audiobooks forever. Not everybody is like that. Not everybody has the discipline to open up a book or to listen or to take notes. I carry field notes with me wherever I go. I'm just constantly making notes to myself and learning in order to impart. Not everybody's like that. Some guys are welders. They go, they do their job, they come home, have a beer, put on the TV, right, and they're not used to this kind of information. And even for us who are seasoned academicians or seasoned speakers or content creators, we're used to that European method of learning where if enough shit is thrown against the wall, something is bound to stick. For those who aren't used to that tsunami of information, it can seem overwhelming. And many guys by the second day are like, holy shit, my ass is dragging because there's so much information. A little tiny workshop in the very beginning will show them how to create an outline, how to create bullet points, how to extract the gold out of every speaker. I think that would be another thing like next year, just to take it up a notch rather than a 4-day tsunami. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I'm on board. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's I was going to say. Was going to be one of my my suggestions for next year. Was going to be. Let's put this up. I was going to say is. I think we need to have some sort of like side gigs going on. I mean, we're already talking to people off stage, I guess. But I think it would be kind of fun to set up like some workshops, maybe even after hours or something like that. Like if we go till 6 o'clock, and maybe if you wanted to do like a half an hour thing where it's an intensive on one particular topic, or how do I do this, or how do I internalize the red pill in my marriage? How do I, whatever their particular specific topic is, or how do I understand hypergamy? Like when I gave my speech, I did it because I knew that I was the only one who could do it, because I'm one of the 3 R's in the Manosphere, right? So it's like, who else is going to give a state of the Manosphere besides myself or Roosh? And Royce will never do it. So that's fine. I'm cool with that. But it's like, I would much rather be getting down and dirty in explaining what hypergamy is, and getting into what my writing is about, and getting into like these topics about, where do you think feminism is going to go, and these specific questions that I'm fielding. I think it'd be really, really advantageous to have sort of like workshops going on. So like, I think it was Goldman might be a good one to like say, hey, we're going to go out into the field. I'm going to show you, how to run game or something like that. Or maybe we've got
that'd be solid.
Christian McQueen was doing that on the 2017 with some of his clients, and I think that would be kind of a really cool thing to like take some of these guys out and say, okay, we're going to go to the clubs. Here's what we're going to do. I'm not trying to step on any PUA feet, but I'm just thinking that would be kind of fun, because I know some guys are into that. Some guys come there to learn the mechanics of the PUA. Some guys are there to learn how to implement red pill awareness in their marriage. Maybe that's something that Hunter Drew can run a workshop of some sorts. Like,
listen, you guys, listen, man. This is gold, man. Workshops at the 21 convention. I don't know about you guys, like a brilliant idea.
Yeah,
to me, that sounds.
And then
that sounds brilliant.
But see, the trick is, how do you implement that in between speakers? Like because it's nonstop. I mean, we went from Thursday through Sunday, and it was like from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
baby. And then it was cigar and liquor.
And that was fun time after that. Yeah.
That's
so
the fifth day. You're gonna have to.
And then I think also one of the things is because we have such a diverse group of guys, it's important to know, and I think Anthony already knows this. It's important to know ahead of time what they're going to be talking about, so that you can sort of fit them together as to what would be a good follow-up for, like, for Jack Donovan. Jack Donovan was talking about, the Ouroboros, the game never ends kind of thing, and how to keep going even after you've achieved something really significant. And so, like, that would be good if you had somebody who could, if you had somebody that was a follow-up to that guy. And I think Anthony probably already does this anyway, so I want to get too far into that.
I do schedule you guys based on your personalities and your friendship, and how I think each speech and each speaker is going to influence the following one. Mm-hmm. Even how the day starts. I put Tanner, crack acid on in the morning when he spoke. Mm-hmm. Why? Because he's a Mormon. Because he doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. Mm-hmm. Like, who's going to be up at 6 a.m. sharp as a whistle? Tanner Guzzi. Tanner's going first.
Yep.
Donovan jumped on Sunday morning spot, which is kind of interesting. I call it the grenade spot. So he jumped on it for some reason. Most speakers don't want the Sunday morning spot, but Donovan's like, I want Sunday morning. I'm like, no problem, dude. It's all yours. Yeah. Donovan was the first speaker in the history of the convention that asked for Sunday morning. I've never seen anyone do that.
I have an idea, guys.
Awesome. I was gonna say, Tex, what do you think? What was your favorite part, and what do you think can improve?
I've made a lot of friendships on the internet, and they're all digital friendships. And with you guys here, most of you guys, in fact, hell, all you guys at this point, a lot of guys in fraternity I belong to, and just people I've interacted with. But being able to transcend the digital world and bring it real live and get together, there's just nothing like it. And to be able to rub shoulders with guys that I respect the hell out of. And I'm just sitting back like a little fanboy, man, just listening, soaking up all the truth bombs that are knocking out every left and right. Favorite event for me was probably Heroes Dinner and the cigar night, because we're all hanging out doing manly shit like smoking pipes and cigars. The cigar bar there in Orlando was fucking tight, man. That place was something else. I got to find one of those in Houston. Let me tell you. I think being there with my son. My son's 28. That was an amazing experience. I tried to sit next to him most of the days where I could, just because I just love listening to what he had to say to me. He thanked me profusely for dragging his ass there, and I had to basically drop, hey, this is kind of a father-son trip. I threw the father-son card on him, and I guilted him into it. He's so damn glad I did. Improvements for next year, I think it's going to be a logistics thing, because we're going to double attendance next year. It's coming. I don't see any other way around that. And that's going to be, how do you keep those heroes dinners and those cigar bar experiences and things like that as intimate? How can you be intimate with 200 and something people, right? But it was, right? So how do you do that when you're going to have 300 or 400 people there? I think that's the challenge.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, that is definitely
the challenge. I'm willing to take. I'm willing to face.
Fuck yeah.
My improvement for my own self is I'm going to make sure that I go there like 2 or 3 days ahead of time, so that I can actually go do some things in Florida. Like I wanted to go, Anthony told me that this was not going to happen, but like, I really wanted to go do a fishing trip after the convention. He's like, no way, you're going to be so wiped out. You won't be able to want to do that. And he was right. So I think I'm going to go out. My new rule is to go out 2 days or 3 days before. So yeah. Ryan, what did you think? What was your favorite, and what do you think do better?
All right. So the good production quality. And I think Bruno can attest to this. It's the small stuff, like having pancake on our face to avoid shine on the stage. The lighting was better. Like even actually one of my favorite speeches, and it was kind of impromptu, was when your producer or director, I'm not sure which one his role was, but when he had his moment. And I laughed at his director, when he had his Michael Keaton moment. If it looks like this is stressful, it's because I fucking am. And his hair was all ratty. I'm like, that's hilarious. That looks like a man like just by the time he's done, he's just going to pass out on top of a camera. But it's nice to see people put that amount of effort in.
That's
and the biggest thing, and I talked about it already with the fact that we're all getting along and it's not just a job, you show up, do it, and then spread apart, but it was your events. Because, like my least favorite part of it was the speakers. Not because they weren't valuable or they weren't good, but just sitting up there giving your speech. Yeah, it's great. You could watch it on YouTube. But you had, I called them simulated social settings, but for most guys, you're kind of used to it. You had a pub crawl or a bar hopping night. I mean, you had your sis showing everybody around the town. So maybe guys haven't had a group of guys go out to the bar with before, or they haven't done a pub crawl with their rugby team. So you got to see that there, and guys who have already done it get to show other guys how they enjoy it, and you spread some notes. Same thing as like a lounge setting, sitting there having cigars, having a casual drink and chatting with guys about business. That's another thing that a lot of guys may not get to do every day. And a house party. I laughed at how much of a house party that was. Like the fact that there was 30 people crowded in the tiny little kitchen, in the little galley kitchen. I'm like, yeah, that's house parties. You always have.
We had guys in MAGA hats walking around with hors d'oeuvres. I was like, this is fucking awesome. This is like heaven. Like,
yeah, but I mean,
we need strippers or something too. But we'll get to that part.
Yeah, you remember that study they had where Americans 20 years ago used to have 3 friends they could rely on, and today it's 0. Like for a lot of these guys that are really at the end of their wits, maybe this is the kind of like they finally get to see how much fun it is to be a guy hanging around other guys. Yep. So I found, and that you never really advertise it. You kind of put it as like a footnote, all these great speakers. Oh, and then a house party afterwards. But then you get there, I'm like, holy crap.
Yep.
So I think that was probably the best part of it. And it's going to be really hard to scale. So I'm worried about how you're going to hit that up with like 500 people. You maybe have to split it up into multiple houses. But
I was going to say, group A and group B, something like that.
The house party will be difficult at some point, but the rest of it we can definitely scale. But we'll figure it out. Even at the party, we'll figure something out for sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And then the to fix things, I'd say the scale of production, not the quality, but the scale. Like let's take an inventory. Yeah, you have your own TED Talks. You have The View. You have like Saturday Night Live, RSA animate style cartoons. Like Rollo's done it. I've done it. We've essentially got morning talk radio. We even have our own version of Dr. Oz and Dr. Phil, except with actual doctors.
Yeah.
So I mean, like,
shit. Yeah.
All you're missing at this point is like a family sitcom and a crime drama, and you've got a full-fledged TV network.
Yeah, and that's the
red pill fiction coming.
Yes, so that's the next thing I'm gonna do is be a red pill screenwriter, so I can save TV, right?
And then, I don't know if it's something we can fix or not, but a more refined media presence. Like I know you offered a lot of press packages, Anthony, to a lot of people who really should have accepted but didn't, which is really unfortunate because I think it would have done a lot of good. But and then a lot of people that could have accepted would rather crash the party as if it was some kind of crappy gonzo journalism's hit piece. Like back in the day where they used to walk into corrupt companies and like, hey, did you know you're not giving refunds? And it's like first off, you're talking about pedigree of like prestigious organizations, prestigious newspapers. Like, come on, guys, be a little bit professional. I don't even mind a hit piece. Just do it professionally.
I know.
Right. Yeah. Like, what the hell was that, man?
I know.
Yeah, that pissed me off. For a long time, people have been saying that I'm paranoid about, I hide the venue, for example. We've been hiding the venue since like 2011 or 12 or something like that. So a long time. People are like, oh, you're worried about nothing, blah, blah, blah. Well, no, I'm glad we had the venue this year because we had a fucking reporter stalking us, blowing my phone up all weekend. She must have sent me 30, 40 texts, right? I sent her like 3.
Which, by the way, hilarious how she was sending that same text to everybody.
To everyone.
And I'm like, dude.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, here's not the thing. Her texts look like somebody trying to DM you on Tinder. And I'm like, dude, you're walking to a bunch of like ex pickup artists and current pickup artists with your best Tinder game. Like, come on.
It was like a form letter.
Yeah, form letter.
I have to make a public apology for that. That was a bad idea on my part. She was the one who was the writer for the New York Times who did the sperm count thing, and it took AJ Cortez linking me a piece that she had done that was a hit piece on Jordan Peterson for me to go, oh shit, what am I doing here?
Yep.
And then so that was I've learned my lesson. It's like no mainstream media right now,
and
or
that's,
at least
and that's
if
totally manufactured too. Because remember, there was like a gay pride parade right next door,
right?
Yep.
And everybody was all thinking like, oh, is there going to be some friction here, or blue hair's going to yell at us? And
no,
you would just see outside a bunch of Manosphere guys and a bunch of LGBT people just hanging out doing their thing, like, oh, that's a cool dog, and just chilling. Like,
Hey,
nobody
By the
really
way, it was a
cares.
total accident. That was I had no idea.
I do need to point one thing out. George was the king of swag this year, and all these bags of people donating stuff. And we had this tactical soap, which is pheromone infused soap. And so these 200-something guys all lathering up in pheromone soap and then going out to the gay pride parade. It was fucking amazing. It was great.
Oh yeah, speaking of which, the wife didn't like Durden, she didn't like Maverick, but she liked Bond. So
So by the way, though, Rollo, you mentioned, the public apology. I say, I appreciate that, but don't worry about it, because the way I see it, that was going to happen sooner or later anyway. It's probably better it happened this way.
I'm glad we learned that lesson on this go round and not later on when the stakes were much higher.
Exactly.
So that's it. And then the other thing I was going to say is, and we're getting close here to wrapping up, but I wanted to also say that there's and this is going to happen no matter what. I mean, we're talking about on the Red Man Group. We did 3 episodes of the Red Man Group for 90 minutes there at the convention. I thought that was actually kind of my high point of
those are awesome.
The whole thing. Yeah, I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Like I said, for people who are wondering, Anthony is fast tracking these for release very soon. We'll release them on the Red Man Group channel, so those will go out. That's why we have jumped from like episode 33 to 37 where we're at right now. So that's the reason for that. But those will be released very soon. I thought those were great. But then like when we're there, I expect critics to come out of the woodwork. It's like, oh, these guys are getting together. It sounds like a homo fest, or they're saying
to be fair, we only
was next door, dude.
Or they'll say
we only had 2 homos. I'm just saying.
Or they're saying that, and I'm not going to mention names, but they're saying that, oh, you guys have sold out. You guys, Rollo's probably sold out, man. He's actually going and doing this. It's like, first of all, it's like, this is well, selling out in the sense that like all you care about is the money, and that's all this is for. And it's like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not getting rich off of going. I mean, it's fun to go out there, and I'm glad I go out there, and it helps me with with my book and ideas and stuff like that. But I'm not getting rich off of this.
Yeah, if you wanted to sell out, it'd be RSD Rollo. Whatever.
Yeah, and I'm also going to say this: who else is going to do this? Who else can do this thing but us?
If we don't do it, who else will?
Exactly. You're gonna let RSD go out there? They're damn well in it for the money. You look at like Tony Robbins or even Jordan Peterson. Peterson's on his world tour right now, man. It's all about the brand of me. And it's like you're not going to get away from that. But how many guys are like sincere in going out there? And I mean, it's really up to the person who is watching this and going to this and learning from this to make that discernment and have the capacity for critical thought to say, okay, this guy's just, punking me for my money. And this guy actually has something that's decent to talk about. And so at some point there's going to be, Rich actually had to convince me of this. He says, you know what? The Red Man Group creates value in people's lives. The Rational Male obviously creates value in people's lives. The 21 convention creates value in people's lives. What is that value worth? What is that? I mean, how do I keep going? It's like, I can't do this as a nonprofit organization. We have to have at least something to keep us getting to the next bigger and better thing. So to those guys who want to say, well, you guys have sold out, who never were here in the first place, I'm going to say this: watch the videos, watch the upcoming videos. Watch the talks, because that's what this has become. It has become a Red Pill Summit, and it has become the TED Talks for the Manosphere. And that's what this is. And that's what I want to see this become. I want to see that stage get wider, and I want to see it look like a TED Talk. And that right there, if I have a goal for the next go around, or maybe even Poland, I want it to be more produced to the point where it's like a TED Talk, but it's only for red pill speakers. It's only for guys who are red pill aware, who are providing value, who are giving these tools away, as opposed to saying, hey, come and check out my template blog, or here, I've got a purple pill site, and I really like you to come and be one of my clients. I'm a life coach. I think the primary strength of the 21 convention is that we have such a depth and breadth of speakers that somebody's going to get something out of it. So maybe you say, well, I wasn't really into what this pickup artist was saying, but I really like what Hunter Drew was saying, and so I got a lot out of that. Great. Or maybe you can take a bit of like Goldman's wisdom and use that, and then take a bit of my wisdom and take a bit of, it's like a buffet. You're taking this and you're creating your own plate of red pill food, right? So you can, right?
I like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like this buffet. And so to say that, oh, well, you guys are just all in it for the money right now, is first of all, it's complete bullshit. Second of all, we create value. So what are you creating? If you're gonna criticize us, great. What are you creating? What have you done? It's not.
Where's your ebook?
It's exactly. Where's your book? Where are you published? Do you have anything else going for you besides being a purple pill, red pill, whatever? You coach? Okay, great. Show me what that is. And you know what? Then you get to be then fine. Maybe you'll get an invite to the Red Pill Summit.
So I got a few comments here I want to drop. First of all, hat tip to Richard Cooper. He has been one who behind the scenes has encouraged me to be more assertive with the pricing. And in the past, it was way too small. At the beginning of this convention, the prices were way too low, and it caused serious problems for the event that we had to overcome over time. The more funds we have, the more money we have, the more I can do things to make the event better. So we need it to make the event work, period. And make the event more powerful and the speakers more powerful. And that's some very basic stuff too. Like this coming year, I want to triple security for both events. We had 2 armed guards at the event this year. I want to have 6 or more at the event next year. Yeah, and they're gonna hang out with us all night, all the way through private events, house party, cigar bar, all that shit.
Yeah, props to those guys.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're all.
That was hilarious, by the way. I remember that. I was saying it on the Q&A. Some guy was wearing cargo shorts, and I laughed. I'm like, "You better have like a magazine in there." And he pulls out a clip. I'm like,
he had a magazine in a magazine, right?
Yeah, big 9mm clip. I'm like, all right, you in. Cargo shorts are in.
Dude, some of the volunteers didn't even know. They saw me take my jacket off upstairs when I was working with some stuff we had in one of my hotel rooms, and they didn't know I had a gun the whole time on me at the event. And a lot of people didn't know that I carry too. There was no less than. Yeah, thanks. There was no less than 15 guys at the event carrying a firearm, which I fully encourage all speakers, all attendees to carry at our events where it's lawful to do so, which in Florida it is. On top of our armed security that are licensed to be security guards on top of that, and they have different, abilities to do things. So yeah, we need funds, we need money, and we're providing a shit ton of value. This is the best event on the planet for men. There is nothing better, nothing that even comes close. Exactly. Nope. And you know what, too, another thing is most guys fly into this event, so they're already spending over $1,000 to fly in, get a hotel, Uber, food, cigars, all that shit. The people that bitch about pricing, it's like, dude, you're gonna drop 4 digits just getting to the door. It's like, we're supposed to charge you $200 to get in. It's fucking stupid. And it would hurt the event and the quality of the experience. And the quality of the experience, not just there live, but 10 years out, because production quality. Our camera, we tripled the budget this year for production quality to amp it to where it's at. And it's approaching TED Talk levels. You guys haven't seen the videos yet. I've seen some of them, the actual recordings. Holy fucking shit. God, just the angles we have and the lighting and all this shit going on. You got in the RMG. Oh, our Red Man Group live on Monday was fucking beautiful. Yeah, I told my director, I'm like, amp that shit up to the fucking max. He's like, got it. What did he do? He amped it up to the fucking max, and it's fucking awesome.
I know, it was amazing.
Beautiful shit we have ever filmed.
I know. I was
really impressed.
I was so worried that was going to come off as like The View for men, but it was really more like ESPN.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah. I agree. It was like ESPN. It was awesome. Just the photo. You guys haven't seen the photos yet. All that shit. Give me another couple hours here. We're gonna start rolling photos out. Oh man, the production quality alone is triggering to our enemies. Just how beautiful it looks, and the photography and the professionalism to it.
Yeah,
I have a few closing comments.
This is gonna be great. That's what I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you guys, we're on the cusp of something big, man. We're not just a bunch of guys who get in front of a cell phone camera and point our fingers. No, man, like dude, we stepped it up, man. Like we are a force to be reckoned with, and that's why we get the trolls. That's why we get the haters, because they know we're coming for them, man. Like we're not fucking around anymore.
Was
like,
it Tanner?
This is an amateur hour.
Was it Tanner who said like the only people who hate is if they're jealous, or was that Pat?
I don't know.
I think it was Pat, wasn't it?
Either way, they're right.
Yeah.
But guys, a few closing comments on the next year's events. I was listening to all your recommendations and suggestions. We're gonna implement as much of that as we can, including we have actually a history doing workshops at the event, usually at night. So we're gonna bring that back in, do it Red Pill style. We could do family stuff, pickup workshops, and we almost did that this year with Richard and George Bruno. So our entrepreneurship style workshops, content creator workshops. We're gonna work that in as best we can, but like Rollo was saying too, there's already a lot packed in. So I got to work with that best we can. Also, I don't think we're going to do a 5th day next year for RMG. We're going to build RMG into the event on a secondary stage, secondary platform. So that'll be running concurrently with the convention in some capacity. I got to schedule that and figure out how to do that best and work with you guys to do that. But basically, we'll have the main speaking stage, and then we'll have maybe 1-2 episodes a day for RMG as well, where the speakers go do that, and then the audience too, as much as they want, or whatever we do. There's gonna be that going on, and we're gonna do more speakers, but the same duration of the event. The way we're gonna do that is like we already have, for example, I gave myself and Rollo 90 minutes in the schedule because I figured we both need it. I ended up not needing it, but Rollo did, so I nailed that. And I knew he needed more time, and he nailed it. But we also, I think, can have shorter talks. So we're gonna have 90-minute talks, like in rare occasions, like myself and Rollo. 60-minute talks are standard, and then we'll have a few 30-minute talks as well, a bit shorter. And I think doing that will increase, it'll change the flow of the event and improve it rather than 60-minute talks.
Yeah, that would be good for that would be good for like workshops and stuff like that too. I should also, and I don't know, maybe this is premature, but like we're also in the sort of planning stages for doing a Red Pill documentary too. So
that's right.
Oh, we're working on that. So if you want to know, so haters, start throwing the hate at us right now.
Oh my God! A real Red Pill documentary.
A real Red Pill documentary.
That was some bullshit.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that sort of was my wake up call to say, if we don't do this, somebody else will, and it'll be fucked up. So.
By the way, seminal moment on the Q&A. I remember, speaking of the Red Pill by Cat, and I discussed this with Rollo yesterday when he was on my show. When the guy came up and asked, listen, how can I contribute in the Red Pill? I want to start an MRA site. And you could see the disgust just make its way onto Rollo's face when he answered this question. He said, it was so condescending. He says, well, the first thing you need to do is you need to disassociate yourself from the MRA. I would highly recommend an MRA website. I said, oh shit! No,
well, it's these guys. Well, it's because these guys are making these associations with Red Pill, and they're following along with what is primarily the impressions, I guess, of the mainstream media, and so. So they're thinking, oh, if I'm Red Pill, then I must be an MRA. And that's the first thing. If some bad shit goes down, if there's some high school shooter or somebody drives a truck through a crowd of people and he says, yeah, I'm an incel, Red Pill forever, whatever. They think that mainstream media is always going to refer back to, they say, oh, men's rights activists drove a truck through these people today, and they do that because
I hate being associated with
right because they make that association. Why? Because they decided that they wanted to take on the Red Pill as a brand name, and of course, what do they do when that happens? They throw the Red Pill under the bus, and so that's one of the reasons why I see it's necessary for us to do do the Red Pill news. So anyways, we should probably wrap up here. I just want to hit a few things. Make sure that you smash the like button. And also hit that little bell there so you get the notifications when we go on or when we start a new event. We are going to be getting back to normal. Rich will be hosting next week. I don't know what the topic is going to be, but if you would like to suggest one, please go ahead. And the other thing is, yes, I will be putting some new content up on my own blog or my blog. Also my own YouTube site, my YouTube channel, such as it is. I'm going to try to build that up a little bit more. Most of those are going to be kind of quick hit videos. They're like going to be like a 30-minute video type thing, just to recover the basics. That's all I'm really kind of doing, is sort of remedial 101, red pill 101 for now. I will be on a few upcoming interviews. I've already got a list of guys who have been wanting to interview me since after the convention, so I'll be doing that pretty quickly. And then also make sure that you go and check out the Patreon page for the Red Man Group. And each one of these guys has something going on. They've either got a blog or they've got a YouTube channel. So of course, check those things out. The Red Man Group live that we did at the 21 convention will be, I think, the next priority, Anthony.
Yeah, it's ASAP. 100%.
Yeah, so
your keynote too, very triggering. I want to get that out ASAP.
Yeah, that's going to be good. Well, I mean, a lot of this stuff is time sensitive now because we have the upcoming midterm elections, and just with all the things that have been going on socially. I already see SJWs trying to get out ahead of the violence that they're already about to perpetrate on election day. So
let them do it.
Yeah,
I got a quick comment too. I was obviously off air from Red Man Group for a while leading up to the event. I told you guys that behind the scenes. You're aware of that in advance. But I'll be back on like regular now on the weekly show, and looking forward to it. And that's just something every year I have to do with an event. The 6 weeks before an event, I have to just zone out and focus 100% to do the event. But I'm back now. I'm happy to be here, and fucking love it. Fuck
Great.
yeah.
All right.
Maga.
Anybody got any of you got any closing comments before I hit the stop?
Yeah, 21 convention. Like I said, man, I think the 21 convention is later on down the road, man. This is going to be a watershed moment in American history, and I know that sounds hyperbolic, but just being there and seeing the progress and seeing the level of professionalism and just how everything came together, man. There's no doubt in my mind that this is going to be big, man. And I think that, like I said, history is going to point to us as those guys were the start of taking back masculinity in America. I truly believe that.
Cool. All right, guys.
Yes. So if you've got a reporter out there that thinks we're a bunch of women haters, I want to tell you something. I was surrounded by nothing but couple hundred men that absolutely love women, but they love certain women, not all women.
We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't. Right.
Damn straight.
Right, exactly.
I'm out.
All right.
Yep.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah. The Red Man Group subreddit is up. I figure these YouTube comments are kind of going to be gone every time an episode's done, so it's going to be a more permanent place. For questions for the Red Man Group, I would say post them there or use the hashtag Red Man Group as opposed to posting to individual guys, so at least we can all see it. If we get some resonance on them, we'll make them topics of the next episodes as best we can, and I'll leave it there.
Nice. George,
Solid.
you got any closing comments?
Yeah, one real quick one. I think there's about a dozen of us that I would call like inner circle guys. I would ask you all, and I think we should do a virtual conference if we're going to do workshops. But answer this question: what problem do you solve? For instance, when I think of Tanner, I can, to market something that Tanner does, I can say for the fashion impaired, there's going to be a workshop tonight from 7 to 7:30. You know, if I do something for the grooming impaired, think about what problem you solve quickly. Not, it doesn't have to be 60 or 90 minutes, but these workshops there can be a lot of value and a lot of one-to-one time. And it's going to help out the guys who are not used to sitting in a big crowd. They respond more to that 10 guys in a group kind of thing. So what problem do you solve with your expertise or content? Can you define it in one sentence? And with that, I'm out. See you guys.
All right, guys. Great show. Look for us again coming up next Saturday. I believe Rich is going to be hosting. And that's it. Okay, thanks for watching, and we will see you next Saturday. And hit that like button and hit that subscribership bell. All right, bye.